Hello, welcome to Waiting for Game, podcast presented to you by Melee Stats. I am your host, Gimmy Wheat, and with my co-host over here, the elusive. I guess he's not elusive. He's been on the podcast for the past couple weeks. The energetic Edwin Budding and the friendly FendrickLamar. Two people. This might be the first podcast where I have hugged everyone on this podcast in the year 2021.
Woo!
It's a monumental occurrence, and a monumental occurrence for a monumental episode because we're going to talk about the very, very fun Smash Summit 12. But before we get into that, we we got to talk with Fendi a ton. It was all about football, but what we didn't get to talk about was how you've been doing. How have you been recently? I know that you got a chance to you were doing King of the Cube, right?
Yeah, so I did the King of the Cube, which was, I had a blast commentating Rishi versus Gatsu, and there's absolutely no shame in getting 5-2'd by a significantly stronger Falcon. But it was a lot of fun. It was also my first time back on the mic in a few months. It was just really good to be talking about Melee again. It's been, I've been busy with real life stuff, planning a wedding and hanging out with my dog, who will hopefully make an appearance at some point. Work has been a lot, it's like good, it's good, busy. And just, unfortunately, that's kind of taken a little bit of a toll on my ability to do Melee related things, working I was looking towards 2022 and kind of what Smash tournaments are going to be around. I would love to go to some of the bigger ones, but then I also realized I won't go to all of them, but I've been invited to 9 weddings in an 11-week span. And I was just like, that's so much money, and time and days off. And I was just like, I kind of have to do a little bit of a reevaluation of priorities. And, again, really thankful that I've been able to do a little bit of online commentary and hopefully be able to do a little bit more of that in 2022. But, I just, it's weird to be such an old guy in the scene and be, 28, almost 29. And I mean, Edwin, you're married, but I was like, this is, the big step in the next journey of my life. And it's probably time for going to, when I had a stretch from September 2015 to April 2016, where I went to at least one Melee tournament a week, whether it was local or regional. And I was just thinking about that recently. I was just like, it was a great time doing that. And I was just like, we'll never be able to do that again. Which again is okay with me. But Melee is always going to have a big part of my life, and I'm going to continue to, be very invested in the game success and the community success, and watch tournaments when I can. And you'll see me on Slippy as well. I'm always just FendrickLamar if you run into me. I only play Green Marth. I never play another character. And it's all positive things, and I think this change is a good one. But again, just things are going really well. I'm really excited to be here, talk about Melee, talk about the upcoming Summit 12. And I think it's going to be a great tournament. And yeah, just thanks so much for having me on. I'm really, really excited to be here.
Of course.
Yeah, Fendi. So I want to get your thoughts on this King of the Cube set, actually. So obviously, I know you've been following news and results in the scene, even as you've kind of taken a bit of a step back for life priorities and everything. I want to actually I want to pick your brain a little bit on what you saw from Gatsu in that set. This is someone who, when you were more active in the scene, Gatsu was, a perennial top 50 player, someone that was always going to be deep in bracket at a major, always very consistent. What did you notice as far as the new and improved Gatsu and that you got to witness in King of the Cube? Because this is one of those storylines in 2021 that I think is everyone, it's not a secret anymore that this guy
Right.
is he's not just in top 32 of a major. He might be just outside top 8 or making top 8.
Yeah,
what did you see from him?
Yeah, I mean, 17th at
That's
main
different.
stage, but it was super close sets with both Kadoran and Magi, and qualifying for Smash World Tour, getting 7th at the regional finals and 9th at Riptide. The dude has clearly been putting in a lot of work. He's been super active in the online era, right? And I think it really showed. Rishi has the way he described it is that he doesn't feel like he's taken a step back in terms of where Melee is for him, but he hasn't gone to as many tournaments. He's not going to be traveling that much in 2022. And as the great Homemade Waffles likes to say, there are levels, and it was just very clear, right from the beginning, that Gatsu was just on a different level than Rishi. And I think that something that we were able to talk about, I love that Toph does this before that the set actually starts, is that he does a little interview pre-event to talk about like, what are you going to be looking for? What are some of the game plan options? Which is like a double-edged sword, right? Because you're on the call with your opponent. So when Gatsu is like, I'm going to like really look to like close out edge guards, that was something that, I think a lot of Falcons can struggle with a little bit if the Marth is even slightly tricky with his recovery. But Gatsu did a really good job of basically whenever Rishi was in the realm of being able to recover, whether it was drop down side B, going up and getting him. Something he talked about was instead of just doing, a lot of different ledge dash invincibility refreshes, he would just do like 1 or 2 hack stashes. Because when Marth tries to, up B and disrupt that timing and be able to clip him and get in, if you only just do 1 or 2 and he's still on the ledge, then he lands on stage. You can either, reverse knee, you can stomp. You got like a whole menu of options. And so Gatsu did that really, really, really well. And, I think like it's going to be really interesting to see him at the Smash World Tour and see if he can figure out, I think it's been a little bit since he got like a premier, like top level Marth win, but it's certainly, within the realm of possibility. I do think, it would be a pretty significant upset if he were to beat Zayn. But if he got, for example, like I don't know if there's any other. If he got Logan, right? If he got Logan, then that would be really strong for him. And I think those are the only 2 Marths that are going to be at, or that came from the East, right? But there's going to be a couple from the West.
Kadoran's there.
Yeah. So like if you got the run back with Kadoran
for Smash World Tour.
Oh, right. I'm looking. Right. I'm looking at just the East stuff. That they.
Yeah. No, but you're right. Yeah, Gatsu. He's been kind of so he was ranked like what 36th, I believe, on the 2019 Top 100. He kind of was always a person who we expected to do really, really well. It just came down to how often we saw him, and that's kind of what a lot of the top like 30 level players are, right? You can only go to so many events and still keep that type of hold on the game. But he has been really, really impressive throughout online. Kind of was like, I don't know. It sounds crazy to say this, but I remember thinking that he was possibly the best Falcon that we saw for like a 3-week period or something. Which
I think it was like April or March or something. Like he just had this stretch where I think the only people that beat we're talking like hundreds of sets, all right, or like a little
exactly. Like
probably,
the funny thing about net play is that 3 weeks sounds like it's like nothing.
Not
3 weeks is probably
sets,
like 12 tournaments
or
whatever. Yeah.
And only Kadoran and Grab beat him. Speaking of Marth Falcon, I think only Kadoran and Grab beat him in that stretch, and that was the same stretch where Gatsu was just like destroying everyone that was.
He won the Alston Melee Bender like right around there, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
He's super strong, and I think that the King of the Cube is really, really cool because it kind of perpetuates this kind of discussion, and I really think that he is the type of player who, depending on who he gets, he can stay on for a long time. He's not a type of guy who I think has a really, really hard counter. And I think that he's the type of guy who does really well versus the type of players that would be doing King of the Cube. I know that Edwin is on a current 2 cube 2 week correction or predictions cycle where he correctly predicted the KJH over. No, you actually you got 5-3. You said Gatsu over KGH. We both said 5-3. You said 5-2 for Gatsu over Rishi. I said fewer games than 5-2. But yeah, you were correct on that. So let's see. We'll obviously won't be seeing King of the Cube this week. We have Summon. Next week we have Smash World Tour. But whenever that comes back, we'll see if Edwin can continue his luck. Unfortunately,
I will say one thing really quick with King of the Cube, if I may, humbly say so. There was one detail that I got wrong this week that I didn't get wrong last week, or at least for as far as the weeks we're talking about. For KJH Gatsu, it pretty much went exactly as I thought it would go. I thought KJH would take a lead, and then I kind of figured to myself, well, I think Gatsu is gonna download him at some point in the middle of the set, and it'll end really ugly, which is exactly what happened. For Rishi and Gatsu, I did get the score count right, 5-2, But I thought there was a chance that Gatsu would then like adapt so hard to the Marth that Rishi would go DK for the final game. I thought there was a chance that he could do that. And that's not to disrespect Rishi, who I think is very good. I just think that the way the sec was going, he started doing a little better at the end, but I just thought Gatsu was really fast. Like he kept running right into Rishi's space, like in really like sometimes in like really crafty ways he would trick him to get like right up close to him. But like they were like one of my things, at least like in Marth Falcon, I think it's so important to not let Falcon get behind you. The moment you let Falcon get behind you, you're just like dead, because that's like he's gonna Raptor boost you or something. Like he's gonna chase you down if like out of a roll, or if you try to like throw out a move, he's just gonna avoid it and grab you.
Yeah.
And that happened a ton like near the end of the set, and that's usually a sign that you're just getting like if you're either getting outplayed or you're not reacting like fast enough, which I think started like becoming. And I think like near the very end of the final game, Rishi sort of started to catch on to what was going on and force Gatsu to respect his space a little more. But that's always like a red flag for me, at least.
Yeah, it was also, I mean, every single time you ever hear anybody talk about Marth Falcon, it's just like these two characters beat the shit out of each other, and it's just all
Right,
about
of
who
course.
can. And it's very cliche, but like it was true. Gatsu just his punish game was significantly better than Rishi's. Like whenever Gatsu got an opening, it was at least 3 aerials into off stage, or he was just controlling spaces, Edwin mentioned really well, and Rishi got probably pretty close, like still under, but pretty close in terms of like neutral openings, but just was never able to like put together right. He never put together the string of death, right, that we see like Zayn will do. And that's a big difference in a matchup where it can be decided by 2 to 3 neutral openings in an entire game.
It can really be the deciding matchup in a especially when your opponent plays a character that can literally like hit the controller against the table.
Yeah.
And if he hits you with like one of 4 different moves,
Yeah.
it's a combo starter that he just got. I hate Falcon so much.
Well, I for one am glad that this was hey, I love to talk about Smash Summit 12, so I'm glad that we spent 15 minutes on King of the Cube. I'm glad that as soon as I was making a transition, I was going to segue to talking about Summit. I'm glad that you decided to talk more about this Marth versus Falcon matchup. You do have like a
this is my one
on
opportunity.
this.
Yeah. This is my one opportunity. Another Marth player on the podcast. Fendi, I know you know exactly what. As a fellow Marth player who's lost to Falcon, I know you understand.
Yeah, this is the last time you're gonna have one other Marth player on. You're allowed to have another Marth player if there's also another
character.
Player,
yeah.
So I was talking about how Edwin's predictions. He's been doing well predicting King of the Cube. Unfortunately, he has not been doing so well predicting recent majors. I know that you have.
Oh what? Oh come on!
If you look at Monday Morning Marth, I know that your last few guesses have been off, but you have some recent talks about Summit, so we'll be getting into that later. Oh, there's a dog for those watching.
Who's
the
a good boy?
Look at Cosmo.
God, look at the good boy. What's up, Cosmo? Why am I saying "What's up, Cosmo"?
Yeah.
Understand me.
Cosmo, have you been paying attention to the recent goings on in Melee?
Oh, he's so cute.
Very happy.
Second dog on the Melee stats. On the Melee stats.
How old is he?
Cosmo is a little over a year and a half. He's a cockapoo, and he's being very much goaded by treats. But he's a cutie, and I know he just wanted to make a little appearance and say hello.
How long have you had him for?
So he's a pandemic pup. We got him, and I'm sorry to continue to derail the conversation, but we got him in June of last year. So we've had him for about a year and a half now. So we got him like when he was a puppy, and he's so happy. Are you so happy?
We're coming up on we're coming up to about like 4 months since we adopted Arnold.
Aww.
So
Barnold?
Barnold. I've called him Barnold so many times. My family members, when they ask me about him, they literally write Barnold in text. It's like, no, I just call him that because I'm ridiculous. Like, his name's Arnold. It's not actually Barnold. Oh my god, he's so cute.
Yeah, well, we can continue. I mean, he's more than happy to just sit, and we can continue talking about.
Wait,
No,
really
that's
quickly, what kind of dog is he?
So he's a cockapoo. So
Yeah, you
cockapoo,
already said that. Come
cockapoo,
on.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
sorry.
Where are you going?
Okay, go on, Wheat.
Now this is good stuff. I think. What did we decide? Like you got a dog around the same time. Ambi got a cat. I think we decided on pod that I have to get a bird or something, right? There was some.
Yeah, I guess for the
some
trifecta.
bit we did. I guess bird would be. Is bird the trifecta?
Let's go with that or a turtle.
Turtle. I could be a turtle guy. What if you saw me at Genesis 7 and I'm wearing a Slippy hat and I have a clipboard in my hand, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to make me seem a little more important than I am. The clipboard doesn't actually have anything in it. It's just like it's there to make me look busy. And around my neck, I have a big snake. Do you think I could be a snake guy?
No, but I will give you an alternative suggestion. Here's what I think you should do. Okay. Have you ever seen the movie Master of Disguise?
Turtle.
No, and I don't know why you keep bringing it up.
I have. I've seen it.
Yeah, see. This is what I mean. Fendi knows what I'm talking about. So I think you should dress up in Dana Carvey's Turtle Club outfit from Master of Disguise.
What happened? When do you know when they filmed that by any chance?
Yes. Yeah. The only thing I would suggest is that you not try to bite someone's nose off in the venue and then spit it back onto their face.
Yeah.
This is a real thing that happens in Master of Disguise, folks. Like it's played off as like a cartoony gag and everything, and it's never interrogated for the rest of the movie. Okay, I'm sorry. Smash Summit 12.
So snakes and big spiders, these are all kind of scary things. Obviously, these commonplace on the southern hemisphere. In Australia, this would be pretty normal. Big snakes and stuff. And hey, look at this. We have an Australian player at Summit. How about that? So we got a chance to talk about the vote-ins on our last episode. If you want to check that out, it was our episode with Free Palestine and Ringler. Very fun episode. And we got to talk about the people who were already voted in at that point, which was Sora, Tyler Swift, and Magi. So we already talked about Sora a lot. I think we're a pro Sora group here. But Sora is kind of the headliner of this group of international talent that we have going here. It's a pretty small group, but I think it's a group that is like really important to what makes Summit 12 a really interesting event. So we obviously have the big news is we have Leffen going to the event. And
made it through customs. He's
made it through customs. Also, who made it through customs is Pipsqueak, who apparently had to answer for why he traveled all the way to Mexico in however many months ago. But yeah, we have all three of our international people are in the country. They're all in SoCal. I think they're going to some of them are going to a Lakers game tonight.
What? That's sick.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's Lakers versus Celtics. I hope the Celtics get destroyed.
Hey.
It's right. Hey, I'm right. but yes, the moral of this story is that the talent that we're seeing here internationally is it's not nominal, right? Sometimes you'll see an international person make it without really expecting them to make it far. What we have here is we have Sora, who we already are believers in, and since our last episode, he's gone to Verdugo, did really well. Got second place, losing to Fiction twice. Edwin, you have some thoughts, I guess?
Yes, I just want to say this is not just like any random second place at a local where he got like an easy bracket or avoided people. I'm going to go down the list of people he beat, okay?
Okay.
He beat Null, fellow Summit invitee. He beat West Balls for, whatever that means in 2021. That's still good. He beat Squid.
He kind of really whopped. He kind of like really mollywopped Squid and Wes.
Yeah, and he beat Gooms. Those are like
those are good
that
wins.
level. Yeah, they're good wins individually, and they all came at one event.
Yeah,
he lost to Fiction Judge. This guy is like, I was telling people like from the beginning of the year, like I think Sora is like low key like where Spud was before he took off. Like,
I think you're like somewhat crazy for that, considering Spud was like an insanely good player, but you're not that far off.
No,
Because that's
he's
just how
he's
good
not,
Sora
dude.
is.
Yeah, if you took like a top 30 player or 40 player and put them. I mean, we just saw Kadoran. I know one of it is the DQ. We just saw Kadoran go 1-2 at a pizza time, right? Like,
Yeah.
if that happened to Sora, we'd be like, okay, makes sense. Like, if it wasn't a DQ and he like lost to someone, then lost to
Yeah,
Android Zero and losers, whatever. Like, that wouldn't really change our mind on Sora. So like Sora going to this event and getting second, I gotta say, like, we were pretty high on Sora, but I don't think if you told me Sora's going to play Gooms, Nut, Squid, West Balls, and Null
And
all in
beat
a
'em
row,
all.
yeah, and beat them all, like, I would think, like, maybe he drops a set or something, but he beat all of them. That's really good.
It is a really good run. And I don't want to discredit this at all. I do think that, so looking at the new summit, like the way that the pools will kind of work, he's going to have
It'll be
probably,
tough,
it'll be really tough, right?
Yeah.
Again, not discredit, like, those are really good players.
of course.
I think that the best player that he played in that run that would be equatable to who he's going to be playing at Summit is probably
Snow.
Fiction. No,
Yeah,
I think
Oh, you mean like
he'll
out
be,
of everyone?
yeah, because like he and Null will probably be like, again,
bottom seeds.
not just
Yeah,
they will be the
that's
bottom
what it is
seeds in
at
the pool.
Summit. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll
that's
be,
the caliber of event it is.
right. So they will be the bottom seeds of the pool, so they won't play each other. So he might have a pool that looks something like, gosh, I don't know. It could be like, hypothetically, he's not going to be the last seed, but you could have like Zane, HBox, SFAT, and him.
Yeah.
Right. And like that is, again, there's going to be slight discrepancies within that.
Something along those lines.
Right. But or you could have like, AMSA, Wizzy, IBDW, something like that, like 4, 5, and 11. Right. Like, it's going to be a completely different level of talent. But it's a great showing. Don't get me wrong. And it's kind of a statement that, he's like, he would be top 10 in SoCal most likely. And he would be, the way that I see it is that he's kind of like where Spud was, honestly, like where Spud was coming in to United States in 2018.
Like, give me a time, because is this like, because Spud like won an event in or he got like third in an event at 2018, right? Was that 2018?
I'm just gonna say,
where he like destroyed. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Look, I'm just gonna say, I think Spud's peak was. I'm not saying he's reached exactly where Spud's best play ended up, but I'm just saying, like, Spud was quite volatile, right? Like, Spud was the only human being in the world who would rather see like Moki in a bracket than like
you're 2-2 Fox, right?
Yeah, or if Spud would rather see Moki than like who's that Sheik from NorCal who Spud lost game 1 to Marth and went Falcon and beat the big. Yeah, like if Spud sees Dream in a bracket, it's like, oh my god, like danger. Like, I don't think Sora has that problem, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to play IBW or do you want to play No Fluxus? It's like, I don't know, man.
Give me Cody all day.
Cody here.
Yeah, you're Spud. Spud. You're voting No Fluxus like the. Like,
we joked about Spud a lot. Is that like, obviously he does seem to kind of be taking time away from Melee to the point where whatever retirement really means in Melee, he does seem to be past the game at this point. But we were joking about, like, you could hypothetically. If you had the ability to rig brackets, if you were seeding every event, and you had the ability to rig brackets, you could like make him top 10 in the world, or you could make him like 95th if you wanted to, just because he did have he had those matchups where if it was a Sheik, if it was a Ganon, if it was a Falcon, really, really tough for him. And I think that Sora, I wouldn't say that Sora has any matchups that I feel like are like auto wins for the level play.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you gave Spud, if you called him top 50 or whatever, if you gave him a Peach who was top 50-ish, if you gave him a Fox who was top 50-ish, etc. I think he really destroyed those people. Like him versus
he destroyed Kalamazoo.
I was gonna say him versus Keizu. It's like, I think Keizu's amazing, but I don't think Sora has that. I don't think Sora has a matchup where straight up you give Sora another X character who is in the top 50 level, and it's an auto win.
The closest thing is probably a Spacey, right? And even that, like Spud versus Spacey's was such a high caliber. Like, I don't know.
that's the bone I have to pick with this Spud comparison. But I think what Sora has is he's got
Steadiness.
yeah, he's consistent. What he's shown from here, from this bracket, is that like I I'm not surprised that he did all this. I think very highly of Sora to the point where like I think that all these wins in a row are amazing. But that is it's I think second to third, maybe fourth was expected for me, for him here. And it's like to build off what Fendi said. When he goes to Summit, it'll be different pools, and I think
Yeah.
that a lot of summits you see the 16th seed or the 15th seed or whatever, and they don't really have their ability to show what they're able to do because everyone who you're playing is top 10 in the world.
God bless Nick Yingling, right? Like God bless him. But that's a great example.
He's
of
the goat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like showing
Yeah.
up for the sake
I
of
mean,
showing up.
even Spud went to Smash Summit 8, and I don't think he did really that well, which is
I think
kind
he
of
beat
crazy.
IBW and nothing else.
Yeah,
if I'm not
IBW.
mistaken.
What was that? That was like 2018 IBW or something like that. That was in pool. Still a good win.
Yeah, still good.
2019 IBW maybe. Yeah, but it's like it's really easy to get 13th. Uh, it's really hard to make top 8. So I think that if you are someone who's only looking at the big tournaments, the summits, the Genesis, et cetera, it's really hard to see a lot of these unique names that are in brackets like this and see them be able to shine. But what I think is really cool about Sora is that him, Don B, and Sock are here for I think like at least 3 months, at most a year.
Sock really impressed me last night. Also,
Yeah.
that's a really another really solid player. Even if he's not in terms of his head to head, I know Sora is like obviously dominantly like beats him pretty much without breaking a sweat. But Sock is no joke. That guy is really good.
The cool thing that we're going to get to see from those 3 Australian players is that once Sora is done with Summit and hey, Smash World Tour, that's another cool thing to add on to. Once he's done with those tournaments, he'll be sticking around for a little bit. He'll be going to Genesis. He'll be going to, if this week's Verdugo is anything to account for, he'll be going to locals as well. So I think that sometimes the Summit players who get in as a lower seed kind of disappear unless they're like able to make a incredible upset. But I think we'll be able to see a lot of Sora. So that's one of these really cool things. Let's go to a different hemisphere. Let's talk about Pipsqueak.
I was just really quickly going to be like, before the last thing I'll say about Sora is, the last couple times he's been to the US have been relatively underwhelming. He got 65th at Genesis 7, 49th at Genesis 6. I guess 49th at Genesis is pretty good, but like I would be shocked if he didn't get at least 33rd at Genesis 8. And I think especially if, considering that he's going to get a Summit level up, I think it's going to be the highest expectations that folks have probably ever had for him, which is a good thing. But I'm just very excited to kind of see where he is like outside of just the invitation. Because, a lot of folks will look at some of people that go 0-3 or 0-4, however many sets you get, and be like, oh, this dude sucks. I'm like, no, man, like these dudes are really so good. And it's just really hard players that you're going against. And so I'm excited to see him, in the open bracket setting at a super major like Genesis. But yeah, let's talk about Europe. Our Swedish boys, our little Swedes.
I think
excited.
Pipsqueak, it's kind of a similar story to Sora right here, right? I think the difference mainly is we have more context to what Pipsqueak's been doing. It's really hard to look at what Sora was doing in Australia and think that like you can figure out what's going to happen from there. I mean, obviously what we've seen in Sora's results, he did kind of fall into where we placed him, which is a testament to how smart we are. But with Pipsqueak, yeah, I mean, this is the guy who, when Leffen decided he wanted to play on box, Pipsqueak, I would say, was the best in Europe, which is kind of a crazy thing. We've kind of seen him coalesce to like third best, which,
still
considering
really good.
I don't think he made top 10 on the latest Phoenix Blue ranking for 2019. So like, yeah, top 3 in Europe is still really good. So he's another interesting one because as he goes to Summit, it's going to be another similar thing like this. He is a player who also has Summit and also has Smash World Tour to kind of establish himself within the greater Melee scene. Yeah. And what we've seen from him in Europe, I would, once again, Summit and Special Tour.
Yeah.
Incredibly hard pools that you're going to get. But I would not be surprised to see some upsets. I think that especially, we talked about Sora having this kind of like even matchup spread. Pipsqueak, don't think has that. Pipsqueak has a very solid baseline in a lot of matchups and excels at a lot of matchups as well. So I would not be surprised to see him do really well in a bracket full of Foxtidos, or I mean, I think that he does well versus Sheik. I think that he's had good sets versus Puff. I wouldn't say he's a Puff master, but yeah, give him like a really good Fox, and I am scared.
So but I very much agree with that. But I'm thinking, just like running through the player list, I don't think we're gonna see. I mean, I guess I don't think we're gonna see Sheik against him, right? I would guess that Free Palestine would probably go Marth against Fox. But it's going to be like, there's a lot of potential for the Ditto, whether it's SFAT, or
Cody,
Yep. I think he's got really strong, I think like baseline against like some of the weirder matchups, there's no like, we have a Yoshi and we might have a Pikachu. And it'll be a good, time for him to maybe get some of those like good player playing bad character wins. And also he's going to have a lot of Falcon potentially. You get Ginger, you can get Magi, you get Mango. I don't think he'd be favored against Mango, but anything can happen in a Space Animal matchup. And just to kind of drive the point home on the jumps, I went back quickly just to find where Pipsqueak was on the Phoenix Blue ranking in 2019. He was 19th.
19th, yeah.
He was 19 and behind
what
players.
What a change.
Yeah, like just what a change, right? And now, the only players that you can really even entertain him being around there are like Leffen and Triff, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think, Frenzy and Prof are really amazing, but I think at this point Europe has like a pretty solid top three, and I think Pipsqueak has cemented himself right there. And yeah,
Absolutely.
like if we're talking about players who have not had the chance to really show themselves on a big stage, I think that this Summit is really cool because it has a lot of those. Summit always has those, but I think this one, it's got a lot of first-time Summit people. Unfortunately, Pipsqueak is a first-time Summit person. It'd be great if he was a second time, but I guess the past is the past. But yeah, we talk about Sora, we're talking about Pipsqueak, Tyler. You mentioned Free Palestine, Null. And I think out of all these people who are like first time around, I mean, I might go Pipsqueak as the chance to really make like a really big showing here. Just his ability to do well in matchups, regardless of what it is, I think is really strong. I think he's shown a really great ability to not like play down, and yet he has the ability to like do really good stuff in the Foxdale, and we've seen him go. He's had some sets that really seems to like knock Frenzy out, and then he has some sets where he does seem to he's lost to Frenzy as well. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Fox Ditto, Falco. There's so many things here that you could give him that if he plays like SFAT, if he plays Magi, something that he could be in his pool, right? If Sora's pool would look really hard, Pipsqueak, even though he's probably only a few seeds higher, probably gets a pool that like somehow could look really favorable. Obviously, seeding has
relatively
not been
at least.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you're going into this and you're not, anytime you're going into Summit and you're not like a top 8 seed, and even then, it's going to be really, really difficult. But
yeah, but we've got 16 players. You mentioned, like let's say Pipsqueak is seed, as long as he's not 16, 15, 14, or 13.
Yeah, he's
right?
probably a third seed in his pool.
Yeah. And he'll probably get one of those 2 seed matchups that you could very conceivably win. Like, again, I mean, you guys are the seeding experts more than I am, like to kind of line up who's going to be after Zane Mango, right? It's like, I don't know.
Well,
yeah, it's like, where do you
after Zane Mango? That's the big
question, right? It's like, do you have Leffen, you have Wizzy coming off main stage, you have H-Box, you've got a bunch. Like, there's also the potential that, right, if like he could get the death pool. Like, let's say he's also like the 10th seed, and you get matched up with like 2, 7, and 15. Like, that could be Mango, H box or IBDW. And then I guess like maybe Free Palestine, maybe Null,
Maybe
maybe
Tyler.
Tyler Swift, like one of those two
Yeah.
players, like, that's like arguably just as hard as being the 4th seed in another pool, right? Like that's
Right. I mean, obviously, the specifics are hard to pinpoint until we have it. But I
yeah,
agree with the gist of what you're saying. I mean, like those 2 spots could just make all the difference in the
yeah.
world. Even if we thought that maybe another player there could do well in that pool, it's really just a matter of chance. Yeah, I think Pipsqueak's a very good pick for one of these kind of sleepers to break out. I actually want to bring up another Fox player here, the one who just lost to Sora and Verdugo. I really think I think Null has quite a good shot at breaking out, and I wrote about this in my column earlier in the week. But while a lot of people tend to think of Lucky as the other of Mango's friends who's a good player and has gotten into Summit before with Mango's help, I actually think of Alex when I think of Null as another similar player who is really climbing up the ranks of SoCal, beating some of the best players in the region, not necessarily going positive versus them, but consistently taking sets and being very competitive in a tough region,
Mm-hmm.
doing decently, like even if inconsistent, doing decently well at bigger tournaments. And I mean, people memed on Alex for getting voted into his first Summit campaign because he had kind of an on and off record with competing in Melee. But like everyone forgets, the guy was good. And after
Mm-hmm.
Summit, if you want to talk about Summit level ups, in the months after that, he beat people like Wizrobe,
Yeah.
Silent Wolf,
Silent Wolf.
later on Crush. I think Null is positioned in a strangely analogous situation where I think his matchup spread against Spaces is really good. I think he's really solid against Sheik. We've I don't think he's favored, but we've seen him take sets from Kadoran this
Yeah.
year. I
He
wouldn't expect it to happen at Summit, but it would, like, if Null beat Wizrobe at Summit, like we're talking about low seed versus high seed. If Null beat Wizrobe at Summit, that would be huge. But honestly, given how close he was to already beating SJ at a major earlier
Mhm.
this year, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
it's weirdly foreseeable. Like if we're talking about low seed versus high seed odds, I'm riding Null. I like his chances.
Yeah, he could, he's obviously got a ton of
Mm-hmm.
Falco experience, right? So like let's say he gets, Ginger and Magi or something like that, or he's
I can't
got,
sleep on him.
right, you can't sleep on him. He's got wins over, I guess, in his career, like Ice and Professor Pro and Smash Dad. Like he could basically give him a space animal, and anything except for against Mango, like anything is really possible there. And so yeah, I like something that I personally thought, like when the final list of 5 invites, or not invites, crowdfunded players was locked in for Summit. If you look at these 5 just names in a vacuum compared to some of the other 5 that we've seen in the past, like for example, just because I have it open, like Smash Summit 8. If you look at like the invited players from Summit 8, that's Nun, Ginger, IBDW, Triff, and Spud, right? Like those are established, like
Mhm.
top 15 to 20 names that like everybody knows. Um, and so to have that this year, where you kind of have, with the exception of Magi, like you've got 4 fresh new faces on the Summit scene. You've got players that don't have the I think the like deep kind of like legacy history in their results. They've been playing for a long time, but like they're not SJ, they're not SFAT, they're not Shroomed, right? Like a lot of those players that we see kind of get voted in a lot. And I think that it kind of notches up the variance level, which is a double-edged sword. I think there's a really high chance that we could see a lot of these players either straight up take sets from some of the the qualified players or the established players, but also really there's a shot that like none of them win a set. With the maybe the exception of Magi.
Yeah.
It's possible, but again, we've seen this in every Summit where like
Mhm.
folks come in, they go 0-7 or whatever. We also see folks come in. I think the first person, right, like Zane's first big Summit run, he was a crown or a qualified player or something like that. He was like one of the first non-invited players to do really well, and we could see that here. But I think like more this year than most years, we kind of have a real, honestly, like more unknown, I think, quantity in terms of invite or crowdfunded players, and I think that makes it more exciting.
Yeah, especially
And I'm
with how
excited.
they
Yeah,
match up against like the 3 and 2 seed, like the high, like the low 2 seeds, or however, like people on the border edge of like 2 and 3 seed and the
yeah.
4 seeds. I think they feel very open. They feel uncertain, whereas in the past those would be occupied by players that we kind of had already pre-existing expectations for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is cool because I feel like we always have these players, right? We always go into every summit with a player who really has a lot to prove. And what is cool about this is that we have like 5 or 6 of them. Um, the way that
Yep.
this summit worked out, I think that some people have expressed that, like, some disappointment. We're not going to see X. We're not going to see Plup. We're not going to see, a couple other players who've been to a lot of tournaments or a lot of summits. But what Summit 11 and Summit 12 have, what's really cool, is that the players who we're seeing get voted in, and like the ones who are fresh faces, have a really good shot at doing well. At Summit 11, I think that the like almost every player who got voted in, or every player who went for the first time, almost every one of them took a set. I know Kadoran took a set, Logan, Aklo, and then, like, this is something that we could see here.
Mm-hmm.
Null is a really great example of a player who, he does not have the big question marks that like a Sora does, or like a Pipsqueak, or even Tyler Swift, because we've seen a lot of him. He's been a really consistent player, and he's been someone who's always gone to majors. But the thing that made main stage so special to me for Null was that we finally saw Major Null do well.
Yeah.
Null used to go to majors all the time, and I think that that's great, right? I want to commend any player who's that level, who's not making money from these events, to going to all these majors. However, what would happen is that he'd go and he'd usually get pretty bad losses. And it's like, it's hard for me to say bad losses and then start to name people, but I've got some stuff that he did from 2019. So some of these have become better players as the years have gone on. And some of these are players who I think are really, really good. And it's not to say that these players are bad, but it's just like, if we're saying Noel is top 100, or if we're saying that he's top 70 or something like that, what he was doing in 2019, he lost to Girth Dad. He lost to Captain Ezekiel. He had lost to Blues Clues earlier, before Blues Clues
Hey,
was
I was
that
gonna
great.
say.
Arsenal's also a decent player, has lost to him. I think Fable's really good. He also lost to Fable.
Yeah, I mean,
Mikey, the Marth from
Yeah, I'm
Washington,
the
a good
Washington
player.
Marth player.
He lost to him. So
yeah,
it's like, we have seen a lot of this. And then when Majors came back, I was like, are we going to see it again? And he lost to Eggy, who Eggy is good, and Eggy has done well. But it didn't, like, I didn't feel better about Null's chances at a major until main stage, where I think he did really well. He beat Logan, he beat Ty. He had that really close set with S2J. And that was something where I think, it's really hard to bet on anyone in this type of playing field, because it's so condensed and so strong. But if we are able to see the Null that can appear at Verdugo's, or hey, the Null that can appear at Mango's house, or
yeah.
at his own house playing Mango online, that is a scary thing.
Agreed.
Because that
Yeah.
Null is one of the like the faster foxes that I've seen. One of the like really smart decision making, on a dime. Just been able to do things that I think are really, really cool and work really, really well. You talk about Kadoran. I don't think he's beating Kadoran here if they play, but
Yeah, I don't think so either, but
he has done
it's possible.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done well versus Kadoran as a Fox player who is ranked below Kadoran. I don't think many Fox players can say that. But he's done well in that matchup. I wouldn't favor him. But if they're playing friendlies, he does well. If it's at a local, still favor Kadoran, but there's a chance.
Yeah.
And we saw that in how he did versus Ty and Logan, who I think are not Kadoran's level, but are very good. So yeah, I think that he's a kind of a player who every year you'll have these like blank canvas Fox players. And they'll kind of just like be like upset fodder for other weird characters, right? It's like, oh, the Samus beat him. Now we're talking about how that Samus is good. But I think Null is at the point where he has progressed so much from the kind of rocky major performances of like 2019. And we're coming into
I was just about to talk about, like, if you look at some of his 2019 results, I mean, at the very beginning of the year, 257 at G6 is like a real eye popper. But even like, you know, he's a 65th place master, 65th at SmashCon, 65th at Shine, 65th at main stage. Had like, it's just amazing too, like the raw number of tournaments. Like if you're just looking at all of the Friday Night Turnips, the Dreams Collides, the Nimbuses, the Verdugos, right?
Verdugos
like
now,
the dude is just like going to as many tournaments as he possibly could. And like, you'll look at some, if you just look at the local results in a vacuum, you see like all these like firsts and seconds, and you're like, you know, again, like back at this point, like this is not, you know, the Nimbuses are still not getting, like the Verdugos are not getting your, you know, top 5 SoCal players, but you're still getting, you're in the toughest region in the world for Melee, and you're showing up day after day after day, you know, getting top 3s at these locals. And then, yeah, just like Major Null is just like, after, especially like if you look at like the run that he had in SoCal from like basically after main stage where he got 65th, and then all the way down where he just went to all these different locals. Again, number of firsts on there, a bunch of top 8s. And then what's the next major that he goes to? Genesis 7. What does he get? 65th, right? It's like, it's finally time. I very much agree. Like to see that performance that he had at main stage was such a positive indication that it's there, right? It's his for the taking. And this is going to be the biggest opportunity of honestly of his life so far, to be like, you know, I can get these top 20 level wins. I can put on the performance that, you know, we can see on Mango's stream in front of 2,000. Like, let's bump that up to 20,000. Like he can do it. And I think, you know, the segment that we're talking about is kind of unlikely runs. And actually, yeah, I think that it would be one of the least surprising breakouts, you know, if we were to see him, you know, put together like a ninth, or like, you know, one of the Aklo kind of styles where you get a couple of really good wins in the pools and gauntlet stage, but, you know, you do get 13th. But like you walk out of there being like, yeah, like I got a couple of really big sets. We could have a similar situation like that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I hate to kind of hijack like the host role, but, you know, if you were to pick one player, you know, you can't pick, I'm just going to like quickly run off the players that you cannot pick. You can't pick Zane, you can't pick Mango, you can't pick Leffen, and you can't pick Wizzy and HBox. You know, who is most likely to get let's go top 4 outside of those players?
Cody.
You think it'll be Cody? Interesting. Expand on that.
Cody is very solid. I feel like
Cody's really good.
I feel like if we were going to mention those top 4, he should be there. He's earned it. Yeah. He's earned to not be included within this list of breakout players. I Fendy, can I ask you something really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know what place Axe got at the last summit?
Are we counting Summit 10?
No, at Summit 11.
At Summit 11. So he got 7th, right?
Yeah, you got 7th.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to pose this question to you also, Wheat. I think you're going to see I think Wheat knows where I'm going with this. Is there any chance, and if there is, tell me what the future is like in which Tyler Swift outplaces Axe and gets 5th at this tournament? I think it is weirdly plausible, but like I have to...
There is a Cinderella run that could happen.
I will be the Stephen A. Smith here and say there's just like... He would need the perfect bracket.
Tyler Swift is terrifying, dude.
Yeah, the thing is, you give him the perfect bracket. I think he, like, okay, give you know, he's gonna be a 4 seed in his pool, right?
Yeah.
Like we all think he's good, but he's gonna be a 4 seed. Give everyone else the perfect bracket to 5th place. Who has the easiest run? I think it's him, right? As much as I love Anis, I think that Free Palestine's perfect bracket is still really, really hard. Same goes for
Agreed.
Null. Same goes for Sora. As much as we talk both of them up, I do think that there's a ceiling at an event like Summit. But yeah, have Tyler. What would his bracket have to look like? I think he could beat a Fox. I think that's possible. He just took a set off of Aklo. He reset bracket at the nightclub, and it went game 10. I think it's really possible for him to beat Null, Sora, etc. You give him
Give him Kadoran. Give him
well,
Kadoran fresh
well,
off
that's
of
like
Fox
so
victory.
the thing, right? Like he could get to 5th if he plays Kadoran in H-Box or something, right? This is like, of course, not easy, but like doable. There's a chance.
Hold on. I would bet the farm on H-Box in a land set. Just want to make that very clear. I would put all of it on the H-Box.
But he has a better shot than Axe versus H-Box.
No, I
right?
agree. I totally agree. But like, I'm still taking H-Box 10 times out of 10.
Fair.
Okay,
enough.
Let's say Tyler, either he's going to be a 3rd or 4th seed coming out of pools, right? Which means like he would have to win a set, I think, because if let's say he loses a set, he comes out as a 4th seed. That means, and I know that there's like a little bit different of a gauntlet kind of this time where it's the bottom 3 players in the first pool do like 3-4 play, and then the winner plays number 2. Like, let's say he loses that first game, either as the 3 seed or the 4 seed. That means he could either get like a 3 seed like Pipsqueak, or he could get a 3 seed like, honestly, like Ginger, or he could get SFAT, and like he's not winning any of those, right? It's like that close to being a 13th and done. But if he gets, for example, like let's say Kadoran is his 2 seed, drops he drops his game to a 3 seed, right? Then he could get Kadoran, and then all of a sudden, wait a second, now he's getting the loser of, I don't know, like Amsa and Wizzy or something like that, right? And then like another upset could happen. I just think I agree with what we're saying. It's like the perfect bracket exists more for Tyler Swift, but I just think it's like, of all the possible possibilities, it's very, very, very,
it's very
narrow.
marginal.
Yeah,
I will say,
let me craft. Sorry, Anoke, you asked the question.
Wait, let me just add one thing.
Yeah,
technically, Tyler Swift does have a set on Ginger this year. They split out as Xanadu earlier. He won the best of 3. Ginger won the best of 5.
So I am going to craft the run to 5th place. Now I'm like not 100% sure that this would actually get to 5th place. Like I'm like doing some bracketology in my head.
Let's say he starts in losers, so he has to.
No. His pool. Here's how he does this.
Okay.
His pool. He beats H-Box, and this is pool's H-Box. He's not beating H-Box in losers, losers quarters. No way. But he could beat pool's H-Box. So he beats pool's H-Box. He gets it out of the way real early, and then he beats Magi. He's 2nd seed in his pool. He goes in the gauntlet, and he plays Pipsqueak. And he, game 5, beats Pipsqueak. Unfortunately, the Okamede practice is just a little not enough. It falls just short. So he starts in winners. And he's 2nd seed. Who is 1st seed? It's Kadoran. He beats Kadoran. He's in winners, semis.
And then it doesn't matter.
Immediately
he could lose twice. Yeah, he could lose twice, and he's got.
Then it doesn't matter from there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That would be. I mean, obviously, this requires him beating multiple amazing players. But like, if I had to craft a bracket in which one of the bottom 4 seeds got top 5 or top 6, I guess, that would be it. I think that Tyler Swift is the one who you can like kind of create one.
I feel like no one wants to play Tyler Swift except like Free Palestine and SFAT. I feel everyone else is like, oh my god.
SFAT would be very scary.
I think Zayn. I mean, obviously, like they play Zayn all the time,
Fair
right?
enough.
It's like he could do it, right? I mean, they go. I would not call it back and forth, but like Tyler gets games here and there. But yeah, I think like the lack of an Axe Pikachu is certainly something that nobody is happier than Zayn about.
Yeah.
Like now, I think, I don't know if anyone else had any kind of, we already talked about unlikely runs. And this is just getting perfectly into my segue into who's winning Summit. I think that if you guys are sports fans, what are the odds right now that Zayn wins the whole thing?
He probably, if we want to start talking about,
because I think he's winning. I'm just gonna put that. That's no shocker to anybody. But I'm curious. Like, what do you like?
Yeah. Well,
let's
talk about it, right?
odds? Yeah.
Because what we talked about the people who could make upsets here. We could make unlikely runs to ninth or seventh, or I guess we talked about fifth.
Yeah.
But the rest of the field, who we haven't talked about yet, the chances for people to actually win, we don't have Axe, we don't have Plup, so it feels like it's not as wide open, but you look at it and it still is pretty open for the taking. I would say Zayn is the odds-on favorite. Mango did this before, we all know that. I think it's hard to replicate, and while I do think that, given a year of 10 majors or whatever, and Mango and Zayn play at 8 of them or whatever, I do think Mango takes some sets, but I would probably say that Zayn's the favorite. Zayn would come out with more sets. And this is kind of like, yeah, we if we talk about, you mentioned it right there, there's no Axe, there's no Plup. These are the things that who benefits most from this, and it is Zayn. Yeah. He still has Wizzy, who's could be an issue. He still has Mango, who could be an issue. Leffen is a big question mark and could be an issue in the future, but this is probably the time where he's, least of a threat to Zayn. Yeah, I mean, if I put any money on this, this is the Zayn summit. And I really have yet to, without seeing Leffen, without seeing Mango since, however long, I have yet to come up with a good reason as to why Zayn is not the favorite.
No. Yeah, I completely concur with that. I already bet on Mango once this year. It ended up working out pretty well, but I mean, we've seen Mango do this. He wins a huge event and he gets 9th at the next one, or he doesn't do well, and his chief rival comes back looking scarier than ever. I just think
he has been grinding. Zayn has been like off stream. I am. He's in like psycho killer mode,
Yeah.
I think
Smash World Tour, I will say, so Smash World Tour, the NA East event, the people who were there earliest was Cody, like straight up first person in there every day, and usually second was Zayn and Cody were there for, they were playing friendlies more than anyone else there. I will say, from both Smash World Tour events, we have people playing friendlies all day. It was like I don't want to dredge up that Melee versus Ultimate thing, but the people who were working the Ultimate events were kind of surprised that there was no drop off in people like leaving or people finishing the day after their sets were done. No, people grinded, and I don't think there were any bigger grinders in the entire venue than Zayn and Cody, who usually played with each other. They were so focused on making the most out of an event like this, and I think that both of them have the laser focus on using their time in Melee to their advantage, which, if you are going to be someone who is a newcomer to the top 10 like they are, right? Like however many years ago, you don't have to go back very many years to find a top 10 where they're not on it. Yeah. Which you have to go back a lot of years to find a top 10 where Mango is on it. But yeah, I mean, like that's necessary for them to compete at this level. And I don't think that there's anyone who's like sharpening their sword, so to speak, more than Zayn.
Nice. Love that.
I mean, the thing is, we're talking about people who win the event, right? So I think we all agree that Zayn has the best overall like chances against the field. I think
neither of you answered my question though. What odds would you give Zayn versus the field?
Oh, what specific odds?
I would say I would bet on the field at 3-1. I think
seems about what I was gonna say.
Yeah, but
sure.
Like anything.
Yeah, why not?
So I would say like Zayn wins 33% of the time, and the field wins the other 66%, which is like pretty ridiculous to be like he's coming in at almost like an even odds favorite. But I just think he's like, at the current moment he's like really just on another level. And I think, I think where Anouk was about to go is like, who else could possibly win this event, right? And to me, I think the list is like 4 players, 5, maybe 5, depending on how in shape Leffen looks, right? It's like to me, it's Zane, Mango, Wizzy, and HBox, and it really
Mhm.
kind of depends on the bracket draws. Because, like, no disrespect to any of the other players going, but if any of the other players are on Zane's side of the bracket, they're just not going to win. Like, no offense. Like,
Yeah.
they're, Ginger's not winning
I
that.
think Amsa might have a bit of a scary shot. I know that Zane's beaten him like the last 3 times they played, but the thing with Amsa, I would say, is in addition to just their last set going down to the wire, I think Amsa's really scary when he gets time to prepare for opponents and when they don't get time to prepare, or when they don't have a chance to prepare for him. I think we're pick, but that would be like that's the only person I would say outside the major caliber winning of a like outside the very top tier of people entering this event who I would
Mhm.
say have a chance versus Zane, which already says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's just everybody else is going to run into, and like, that's also just talking about specifically against Zane. Like, a lot of other people have that same kind of demon against Mango, right? Like,
Mhm.
if Mango Wizzy is 2-3, right? Like, that's just tough shit for Wizzy. Or if, like, it kind of depends on where, again, like, where do you seed HBox? Where do you see Leffen? Where do you see Wizzy? Like, a lot of that is going to ultimately come down to how the bracket shakes out. But like, if you are like, let's say you're SFAT going into the bracket as the 8 seed and you get Zane round 1, like, that's rough.
Yeah.
Or or if you're Ginger, or if you're Magi, or if you're Pipsqueak, right? Like, there's just so many players that if you just get seated against Zane, then you're just toast, right? Like,
Mhm.
and that's just a bummer. But that's how all brackets work, right? It's like, if you're the 64th best, you'd much rather be like the 68th best player in a bracket than the 64th, because if you're 68th, you don't have to play against number 1, right? It's
Mhm.
like, it's just a lot of it's going to kind of shake down like that. But so I'm very curious to be like, just to see you. I think for me, the 2 players that I am going to be watching the most intently, and I would hope that everybody has the same answer for number 1, is going to be Leffen, right? Like, because if somehow Leffen comes and we see, even like 90% Leffen, 85% Leffen, like, that dude could still very
90%
much,
left, it's really
right?
good.
That dude could very much
Yeah.
still make a run to Grants, right? It's like, or just what level of Leffen are we going to see? I think is like the
Yeah.
kind of biggest question that could determine a lot of how this goes. And the other one for me is, Edwin went to bat from right away, is going to be IBDW. It's like,
Mhm.
if IBDW can be mentally composed and pick up a couple of those key, he could very much be in like a 4-5 kind of quarterfinal, right? And that's the difference between potentially going down to losers and playing someone like Doran, or moving on to winners and playing Wizzy or HBox, right? It's like, it's going to be a huge discrepancy in that. And I think, like, he can put it together, and like, he's a non-zero chance against Mango too. If it's just basically, it's like, can he end up on the other side of the bracket as Zane? He could very much be meeting Zane in winners finals, right? He
Yeah.
could.
It's really funny that we just fall back into this so easily, right? Do you remember? I mean, obviously you guys remember, but back in the day before Armada retired, um, a lot of brackets would have you'd have Armada on one side and HBox on the other, and then if you were not one of the players who could beat both
Right.
of them, your chance at winning a
Yeah,
major
you were just
was
done.
Yeah.
like good luck.
Yeah.
And then we saw Armada retire, and we thought the floodgates were going to open once Axe won Summit. But now it's kind of funny because what it is, if you can't beat Mango and if you can't beat Zayn, then you're probably the same exact chances that you would have before,
Yeah.
because you have someone like Cody. Cody's amazing. Cody also lost the last like 9 sets online versus Mango.
Yeah.
It for someone who's beaten him in person, it was not pretty. And of course, Zayn, like, I think Cody, I have weird optimism versus him, or for him versus Zayn, but not enough where I'd say that he probably has a really good chance to win. So
I
that's
mean, we
out
have
the
to see
window.
it, right? Like until he does it,
Yeah,
it's always going to be a possibility, but it won't be
yeah.
like
I
it could
mean,
be really close, and we'd consider like if it happens, we'll be like, okay, well, like he's played him enough times to where he was due for one, or it's gonna get into like hopeless territory. Right?
Regardless of what like chances he has, there's no way in the near future that he wants to be on the same side of bracket. Like even if he has the chance to
Just
win,
objectively.
no way he wants to be there. So you kind of run into stuff where like, yeah, I mean, you got to look at people who their chance to win is if they're on the right side of the bracket. If Wizzy's on Zane's side of the bracket, that's could be doable. If he's on Mango's side, that's tough. Really,
If he's on
like
Cody's side, that's hard for Wizzy, by the way. That's another matchup that's been looking worse for him.
It's basically like if Wizzy is 5 and or if like let's say Wizzy is 4 and HBox is 5.
Yeah.
That's the bracket that you could possibly, like the best bracket you could kind of possibly ask for him.
It's funny too, because we talk about all this. This is not a set bracket. This is if everything plays to what it should be. It plays to seed.
Won't.
Which it won't. And how many times have we seen Mango play like the melee of his life on Pools Day and then immediately lose on bracket? I mean,
Smash Summit 6 when he beat Armada or whatever.
He beat Armada, and he beat Armada, he beat HBox, like, and then just, I mean, the demon that he faces most often, I think that it's always like Plup, right? He does so well that he plays Plup and he immediately loses.
Happened at Summit 11.
Yeah, I mean, we like could see some version of that. We could see some version of him losing in pools. And even though I don't think that's likely, but he could be on the same side of bracket as Zane, right? Like whatever bracket comes to be, it's going to be kind of a mess. And yeah, we talk about people who can win, and you got to look at people who have a realistic shot at beating both Zane and Mango, or at least a really good shot of beating one of them, which comes down to not surprisingly at all, very few people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I think only I think Zane, Mango, Wizzy, and then Leffen can. I'm not counting people with like a 5% or lower chance of winning the tournament.
Wow.
I'm gonna treat that.
So
I'm gonna treat that.
HGod doesn't get 5%.
No.
Wow.
No, I think I can't see HBox winning this tournament. I'm sleeping on him.
HBox is like, my friend Fendrick here is wearing a 76ers shirt. So I do have to mention basketball. HBox is like current day LeBron. He doesn't look that great.
Checks, baby. Cashing those checks.
But like, if you asked me if LeBron has a chance to win the finals, I will say, yeah, sure. I'm not going to say no to that question, right? It feels like, I don't really think he's got a good chance to win, but it is LeBron, and we kind of been through enough where we know to not bet against LeBron, even if the eye test and everything else says that probably not the chance, not the time.
Are people forgetting that HBox got to winners finals at Summit 11? Like,
hello.
Like,
HBox, he's impossible to bet
against. Yeah, the god only loses when he loses. That's all I'm going to say. Let me put it this way.
Let me put it this way with HBox. First off, I want to clarify something. I think offline HBox is definitely a different beast than online HBox. I think
even though he did do the 3-peat.
Yeah, he did do the. God, don't get me started on the stupid 3-peat. This gave me an aneurysm.
The non-consecutive 3-peat. God, he just like he recrafts words into what he wants them to be. It's amazing.
He just forces reality to bend in the direction that he wishes.
It's like Shakespearean. Shakespeare would just like make all these terms and like just change the language, and HBox does the same. 3-peat didn't mean
like, I guess
3 non-consecutive wins, and now it does.
Yeah.
but yes, so go on. If HBox is a different beast online or offline.
Yeah. With that said, I don't know if even offline Hungrybox's like matchup spread against the top tier play is anywhere near adequate to where it needs to be for me to seriously consider him winning
Zane,
this tournament. Let's go down the
IBW,
list.
Zane, scary.
I'm gonna
scary.
I'm gonna go into detail on each of these. Zane, I think, is an auto loss. I don't think he has a shit. I like could he beat Zane? I mean, like maybe, but he needs every single break to go. Yeah, he needs every single break to go his way to win a set against Zane. Like he has to be resting out of his mind. Like Zane might have to SD or commit like a really egregious error or something. Like it would be a big upset.
Like he played the game of his life, game 1 in winners finals of Summit, and then Zane was like, "Oh yeah," and then everything else happened the way we thought it would. I agree.
So
you would need.
I'm going to treat Zane as an auto loss. Mango, I mean, I don't know, like maybe Mango like runs at him for 12 times
Yeah.
in a
I
set.
think
Like we've
I
seen
think
that
he has a
happen.
better chance of beating Mango than he does of beating Wizzy.
Yeah, Wizzy maybe. I think he's got
That's my like
he
slightly medium hot take. I
he'd
think he has a
rather
better
see
No,
shot.
I think that's
Mango.
reasonable. Some of
He'd
the
rather
Wizzy
see
sets are
Mango
really
than
hard to
Wizzy or IBW, which seems crazy. But like,
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
still unlikely.
Yes,
Like
I would
that
agree with
might
that.
like if that's his best chance, like that's another set where he needs breaks to go his way. So
if the
that's the
yeah,
top two seeds
he can't
already.
beat Mango at the top of Mango's game. It
Right.
just
Yeah.
we're kind of betting on the fact that if he like, there's a chance that Mango might not be on the top of his game. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
What do we think of
agree with that.
HBox versus Leffen? Like I know we haven't seen Leffen in a year and a half,
Yeah.
but
It's
like I
just
have
really
to
hard
assume
to surmise, right? It's like
yeah.
honestly, I think we get a good like we could get
Honestly,
like
I
a
think
good
Leffen
glimpse.
destroys him.
Well,
He
I'm
could.
That's
not
my
kidding. He could. I think that that's like one of those matchups. Like actually, it could go either way.
If we're talking like winners, semis, or if we're talking pools, I think that's a different story. I think a Leffen who is in shape enough to get to winner semis could really destroy
Yeah, if
an
he's
H
yeah,
box
because that
who's
means
also
that he's
finds
already
themselves there.
right. That means he's
Yeah,
already gotten at least 3 pool wins or
yeah,
2 pool wins and a gauntlet win and a win in bracket. Right, like that shows that we're
it's
seeing like top left. But if it's like let's say it's early in pools and it's the
yeah.
3-6 or the 4-5 or whatever, that is when the moment would be the most opportune for HBox to get that
right.
W.
But even saying Leffen as his best chance, like we already listed two people that he
Yeah.
needs every like we listed two people, the two most important people at this event who he needs every break to take a single set from. Now we're getting into like the people like Wizrobe and IBW who again like if he takes a single set from them like
But
yeah maybe but he has to take multiple from
yeah,
that
but
same
but
group.
I think that's where the list ends. I think that's the list ends that are people that are favored above HBox.
Yeah,
I
I
think
would
it's
agree
those
with
5 players.
favored.
But to win a tournament, you have to beat like 3 of those
Mhm.
people. I don't see it with him. I think it's so. I'm
But I'm
sleeping on
just saying,
Clutch God.
you are sleeping on the clutch guy, which is why I think that to give him an under, the way that I see it, I think that there's kind of like, I think there's 4 tiers of players that to win this event. I think, and this is my favoritism showing. I think Zayn is alone in tier 1. I think that he's kind of like gotten himself enough.
Then there's 2 empty tiers
Right.
and there's the other 15 players.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, then I think you have Mango also in his own tier. And then I think you have a 3-person tier in tier 3 where I think you have HBox, IBDW. I can make it 4 people: HBox, IBDW, Wizzy, and Leffen. And then I think honestly, then tier 4 is everybody else. I think that there's
move H God into tier 4.
See,
I think
I can't do that. I'm with
No,
Wheat. Until
you guys
until
really
his
have
arms
such faith in
fall
offline
off,
HBox.
you can you just like you cannot count him out as a tournament threat.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll win, but I'm just
No.
like I'm not sleeping on the H God. I'm not sleeping on the God. That's all. That's all.
My brain is unable to like really bet against him. If you came up to me and you were like, "Hey, like you'll lose $5 if HBox, like whatever bet it would need to be, I would be so afraid to take a bet even if I could win. Even if it was like, I'll lose $5 and I'll gain $20 or whatever. It's like the chance of him winning is slim as it currently stands because of all the reasons we mentioned, because there's so many scary people here. But like there's stuff that slim chance will not leave. Like no matter what we see from HGOT ever, he will still have a slim chance of winning, even when he goes to events and he's seated like 25th, right? He is this kind of like wild card who, no matter what's happening around him, will always have a chance. And it's fun and it's scary and it's like weird.
Honestly, now that you say it, Wheat, I believe I trust you. You have a really good handle on when HBox decides he wants to win. I'm gonna change my mind. I'm not
it
sleeping on
seems
Clutch
like
God anymore.
So we on the Logan episode, we kind of were like a little on the nose talking about how, he's doing well enough to the point where I don't think he needs to win. And I like need to preface this by saying HBox is one of the best players of all time. And his legacy is not built entirely on spite. However, when HBox needs to prove something, there's like a new gear that he's able to kick into. And I think that's, I'm not saying that's why he did well at Summit 11, but every time people have counted him out recently, he's always done well. But what we're seeing him, he got third, he got third at Summit, he got fourth at Riptide, or maybe third at Riptide, he got fourth at Smash World Tour East Coast. He got second at main stage.
Yep.
It's like he's doing well enough to the point where I don't think he has counted out enough to really prove anyone wrong. Which, I mean, hey, this level of play at this tournament, I don't even think like having a chip on your shoulder gives you that much of a chance, because what we're seeing for him
that's the thing.
is those players are so scary. It's like remember 2013, 2014 when he was like the fifth god, but also kind of the god who would never win anything.
Yeah.
We're seeing a kind of a return to form of that, where like he always has a chance, but he happens to be playing against people who have a bigger chance and have a great chance against him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will never count out HGod, especially with what we've seen from him.
I honestly think he's like closer to Amsa in terms of long shots to win the event than he is to Wizrobe.
Yeah, you have this weird
damn.
I don't know what you and Amsa, what's going on there. But
I think that guy is horrifying.
I was gonna say, I just
he's
think
such a scary player.
I was gonna say that's actually just a super big compliment to Amsa. That's
he's
Amsa,
horrifying. Amsa, like after all of rollback, me being the stupid idiot that I am, and so many other people thought, oh my god, so many top 25 Fox players. I don't know, Aklo's kind of scary for him. I don't know how Amsa does against Aklo. Aklo washes whiskers. When these two play, Amsa just clowns Aklo. Yeah. He beats Mango first try at the event. I'm never sleeping on this guy again. Amsa, maybe he's not a top 5 player, but he's pretty damn close. He's really scary. Yeah, and there's no Peach at this tournament.
Yeah, but someone in chat just had a really good point. Amsa has not even come close to even like at an event like Summit. Like, what is his bet? Like a 7th place, right? Or maybe like 4th at main stage. But that was the 2019 main stage. It's not the same one that we had this year. Like, like he hasn't had the like.
Yeah, it was
Genesis 6.
Yeah, there's
right?
no precedent for it.
Right.
Fair
yeah. Fourth at Genesis 6 is like by far the best placing at a tournament that he's ever had. Right. Like it's just there's no precedent, right? To be like, this is an event that Opsa could win, because you just said it, right? Like, you have to beat 3 of the top 5 best players in the world in some order, right? Most likely, barring chaos. And he just like is not going to be able to do that.
Maybe he takes a set from one of them,
right? And then he sneaks into winter semis, or he like wins a set or 2 in losers, and but he's just like he's not gonna get top 3 at this event.
I think it would take a lot to go his way for that to be possible, which is why I compared him to HBox, because current HBox.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the winning tournament.
Watch, he's gonna win this. He's gonna win this tournament, and then next week I'm gonna come on with like a paper bag over my head.
That would be insane. I think that would be honestly.
I think we would.
That would be like a legacy-defining win.
We would literally. I'm just gonna let you know right now. If HBox wins this tournament, not only will I come on next week with a paper bag over my head, but I'm gonna I'm gonna suggest that we halt production on like whatever our upcoming projects are, and we just make this HBox spite video.
I think I would hope that you do like
the great. We just convert ourselves to HFAM propaganda.
Honestly, I'm not sure if you're getting invited to the next episode if he wins. That might be your punishment. You might just get like sit home and angrily look on Twitch, which you can subscribe to.
Yeah, you can just
if you have Amazon Prime.
Put the HGod only loses when he so chooses just right there on your cam the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even get to have the bag over your head. It's just HGod.
I don't even get to talk either. It's just there's a corner for like, oh, so like, what do you think, Edwin? Then there's just like 15 seconds of silence.
No, I think you should be like muted. It's like me, Ambi, and I don't know. AMSA or something. For some reason, we
Yeah.
get AMSA, and you're
Or
just
you
like
guys get
still
H
there.
box.
Wow, get the God on the pod.
God, yeah.
Let's bring that hashtag God on the pod. Put it out in the world.
Oh boy!
Oh
yeah.
God, he's gonna win this tournament, isn't he? Oh no.
That would be wild.
I take it back.
Yeah, but I
Well,
Zane's gonna win it.
Let's do so. Yeah, we'll each go around and we'll say our person. But before that, let's put a nice little bow on this H box thing, because I don't think any of us are saying H box unless Edwin has a huge change of heart and it's just like, you know what, he's gonna win. Unless that happens, let's finish off H God conversation with kind of similar to what I did with Tyler Swift. Right, we crafted a bracket that would be perfect for Tyler Swift to get 5th. Let's craft the perfect bracket for H box to win.
Okay.
So let's say he gets 2nd in his pool, right? I think that's like most likely thing.
Sure.
He might face IBW, might face Wizzy, he might face Leffen. And any of those, even I think Leffen's probably the easiest one in that pool, but any of those, that's kind of tough. So let's say he finishes 2nd in his pool, wins Gauntlet. Who does he want to see in winners quarters?
So let's assume that he is, just for this argument's sake, he won't play the 1 seed of whoever was in his pool. So he either whoever he lost to, he won't have to play, right? So it'll either be like Zane, Mango, Leffen, or Wizzy, and whoever he didn't lose to.
Yeah.
I think the best thing for him would be getting Mango early.
Yes, I agree.
I think getting Mango in winners quarters is the best thing that he could get.
Yeah, probably Mango or Leffen early. Most likely Mango.
So let's say he ends up as the 7 seed against Mango's 2, and he beats Mango. Then what I think is the best thing is that he sees number 6 seed Kadoran beat number 3 seed
Leffen, yeah.
Yeah. Kadoran in semis would probably be his
and then he gets Kadoran in semis, and then let's say he gets, so then it's the question of, I think he'd rather play Wizzy than Zane, right? So let's say number 4 seed Wizzy beats Zane in winner semis, and then he gets Wizzy, right? But then he gets he's not a favorite either, but it's like, you know, and this is within the realm of possibility. So he definitely wants to dodge IBDW for sure, right? And so, like,
I think Leffen is probably his winners finals opponent, if his best case,
well,
right? Oh, and even that, like, that's asking a lot. Like that,
yeah,
like
maybe if Leffen is winners finals and then Kadoran's upset is like Cody or something like that.
But
right?
I think we just talked about if Leffen's getting to winners finals,
Leffen's
winning the tournament, right?
I mean, that far.
Regardless, if it's Wizzy, Zane, if Cody's on the other side, I think he probably still wants to see Leffen. I mean, this is just like a testament to how tough this is going to be. And
so even if Leffen is playing good, he would rather play that version of Leffen.
I don't know.
I mean, play Cody or Wizzy.
I think you have an actual plausible path for him to getting to winners finals, and then just whoever is waiting for him in winners finals, barring again just total chaos, is going to be a really, really tough matchup for him. But at that point, it's HBox and winners finals.
Yeah.
Also the same thing. It's like, it could very much be he's just feeling himself, and he gets he gets Wizzy, and I know Wizzy obviously has had the upper hand recently, but it's like,
but he did beat him this year.
He does have a set
exactly. Yeah.
So maybe that's it.
That's the Leffen, and then he gets. I mean,
still do not feel confident, but
no.
And then he gets what, like Mango and Grands?
No,
like
because that means I was gonna say that's losers, like
losers Mango.
Dude. Oh god.
No.
I mean, to be fair, we've seen losers Mango get like snuffed out by 8, but that was way in the past.
That was that was a different time.
I don't know if that's.
It exists. That line exists to him to again. It's super unlikely we're all quantifying that, but it's honestly,
it's like Mango to Kadoran, right? Yeah. Like to get to winners finals. That I could see that.
Yeah.
It would need, again, a lot has to go his way, but like if we're gonna build the path, that's probably it to winners finals, and then like we're saying, maybe he beats Wizrobe, and then he
gets Wizzy again. He loses set 1 Wizzy, but then he wins set 2. Again, this is
who does Wizzy beat in losers? Then does Wizzy beats it double eliminate?
Wizzy beats AMSA. AMSA gets 3rd. It's crazy.
Yeah, sure.
What a run!
Let's do it.
We're making it out the bracket. Who cares?
Don't have to
Yeah,
worry about
sure.
losers because we're just focused on
Sora
winning through
DQs
winners.
because he starts dating Pokimane or something.
Yeah.
Like, we're all, hey, who cares? He's in LA. He's all having a good time. Okay, well, suffice to say, I don't think any of us are picking HBox as our prospective winner for the event. Start with old Josh Fendrick over here. Who do you possibly think could win? Who is your choice?
It's a pretty easy choice for me. I think, the multitudes of just him being favored against pretty much anybody else in the bracket at this point. I think we'd have to have, people rightfully say like it was one of the best comebacks ever for Mango to win Summit 11, but we have to remember that, Zane was up 2-0 in the first set of grands and then just collapsed. If he just closes out, game 4 on FD, for example, then it's 3-1 and, then it's just business as usual. And I think that, we will see that level. Like if you go back to Zane's, Summit 11, he dropped one game to Plup, dropped one game to HBox, and that was it, right? I don't think he dropped a single game anywhere else. Like he dropped 2 games in pools. He got 2 games to AMSA, but he 3-0'd none. He 3-0'd Yingling, and then 3-1 over ABDW. So like he was just playing he was on a different level than everybody else. And I think we also saw at Smash World Tour East, right? Like, he just 3-0'd IBDW with the quickness in grands, right? Like I think he's operating on an entirely different level right now. And I think that Zane is going to win this whole thing. I do want to give my other Marth hot take, and that I do think the Godarin gets top 8 and maybe even top 6. So I think watch for him. I think he's just been playing also entirely out of his gourd right now. And I think that there is a very conceivable path for him to getting top 6. He would need a couple lucky breaks for sure. But, I think we don't have to go through the like convoluted exact hypotheticals.
Right, we save that for HBox.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think, just give him some space animals. You saw the sick comeback against SFAT. Like he's going to be, in my opinion, favored against every space animal there. I think with the exception of Mango, maybe IBDW, depending how you feel. The one set I want to see more than anything else is Kadoran versus Leffen. That's the one.
Yeah.
If you can give me that set, everything else is icing on top of the cake. Like I want to see that set so bad. I want to see Zane play everybody and beat everybody, but like specifically, I want to see Kadoran versus Leffen.
Hey, Fendi.
That would be amazing.
Wait for Smash World Tour.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think that the Marths here have a very good chance at doing very well. Kadoran, his last event that he did not place top 8 was Summit. So let's see if he can right that wrong. What about
Are you sure it wasn't pizza time?
Yeah.
The last event he didn't get top 8 at was Pizza Time 9 or whatever. got a fat 17th, losing to DQ and the greatest player of all time, Android Zero.
Cannot be stopped.
Yep.
Literally impossible, except when he lost to Squid or whatever. Edwin, we're coming off of one of our Marth friends saying our other Marth friend. So I go to you, another friend in the Marth sphere. Who do you think's going to win?
I think it's Zane. No axe. Mango likely to rest on his laurels after being dubbed the greatest player of all time. Rusty / just coming back into practicing against the top American players shape version of Leffen. Up and down Wizzy. I guess IBW like really trying his best, but I think Zane is just on another level right now. I think he's definitively the favorite. We were talking about odds with him earlier. I sat on for a bit. I would give him like, I don't know how this translates into numbers, but I would give him like close to 40% odds of winning the event. I think he's a solid favorite.
Mm-hmm. I think that's 3-2. I know Leon was correcting my incorrect math earlier. I think that's right. But he's just like a really, really heavy favorite. And I very much agree with that. Yeah. 33%, 40%. Then you
something around that range.
Well, you could probably give Mango like 15 to 20 ish. You give H-Box and you give Wizzy and Leffen and IBDW probably like somewhere around 7 to 10% each.
Mm-hmm.
H-Box 5 to 7%, and then the rest of the field 5%. I don't know if my quick maths added up to 100, but like it
if
really is like
YCZ will tell us.
Right. It's like a 2-person match basically. Like the Leffen and Mango combined. Like if you were to give me Leffen and Mango versus the field, or sorry, Zane and Mango versus the field, I would take Zane and Mango.
Yeah, probably. Right? Does that sound about right, Wheat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, going into this is probably Zane's tournament to lose, right? Yeah. The one person who we've seen that he would still have a chance against, but has not beaten yet, is not here. That's Axe. And then another player who is a wild card for, how he does versus him, which is Plup, is also absent. So while I like, I'm not going to say that none of these players here can beat him. Obviously, we've seen multiple of these players do well versus him in the past. It's really impossible to go into this tournament and say that anyone but Zane is favored to win, which why I'm going to say Zane's not going to win. I'm going to predict otherwise.
Are you going to predict Leffen wins?
We've done this a lot of times on the podcast. We've had many different podcasts throughout the years. We've had, of course, Whitney for Game, which we are nearing 30 episodes on.
He's picking Leffen.
We have had Deep Dives, which we had 50 episodes. We, of course, have had 2 seasons of the Melee Stats podcast with the great Save Us Entitled. And it's never fun to pick the person who's favored, right? I will say it's a little more fun to pick the person that's favored now, because the person that was favored before was H-Box. It is more fun to say Zane now than it is to say H-Box before. But I will continue the great Wheat tradition of saying Leffen is going to win the tournament.
Wow.
Leffen is someone who
it's not like like it'd be a surprise if he won, I guess, but like, it's also like, it's foreseeable, right? Like if he won, it would be surprising, but it's not like out of the realm of possibility, right? Like he's such a wild card.
7 to 10%, baby. 7 to 10%.
The Leffen that we've seen recently is kind of hard to pinpoint, right? He's playing in Europe, which is hard to pinpoint because there's no other top 5 level player there. Sorry, Armada, but there's no active top 5 level player there, so it's hard to see what a win like Smash World Tour Europe means. And especially at that same tournament, we saw him go down 2-0 versus Kinzo. So like we've seen him play rusty, and he does not feel confident in himself. But we've seen that so many times before where I'm not sure if that really affects how I'm going to see him. I mean, like, realistically, he does not have a great chance to win. He would have to probably beat Zane, which he's beaten before, but the last time they played in Marth Fox looked pretty, really, really hard. Yeah. I am blanking. I'm not sure if the last time they played in that was indeed the Big House, but
I think it was Summit 9.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. I know the Big House looked, really easy for Zane. So I think that Zane's a tall order, and beating him with a character who he really doesn't have that much tournament experience with, even though he has been, of course, grinding the character and playing Zane a lot. I don't know. I think that Zane is really favored, and I'm going to do the same bullshit that I've done for 4 years or whatever, however long we've done podcasts on and off. Where I'm going to say Leffen is, I'm going to pick him to win, and then when he eventually gets like 7th, I will say that I don't think that this is indicative of his his future.
Do you think you and Ambi will be insufferable if Leffen wins?
Do you think he goes Sheik against Zane?
Yeah, I think so.
In tournament, like let's say
I think he can do it.
He has kind of buried himself in a hole where like I don't think that he has the mental like he's not putting himself into like a mentality that would win in Fox Marth, despite the fact that I think that I think he probably could. I think it's possible for him to win in Fox Marth. He has the ability to do so, but I don't think he is putting himself in the correct mentality to win, which means that he'll probably go Sheik. His Sheik, he had like 2 years. This is the time, right?
Yeah.
Hey, it's a good time to start practicing.
I honestly think like let's say he comes out swinging with Sheik against Zane.
Yeah.
And like, let's say Zayn just beats him just as bad as he beat the Fox, right?
Yeah.
That just readjusts your entire worldview again. It's like, well, shit. Like, if I can't do it with this guy either, like,
True.
what am I doing?
then we'll see the Falcon.
I was-
He's
they
done
they
very
go pretty
well.
close in their games. Like I think Left and Sheik can do it based on
Yeah.
what we've seen. But again, like I don't know how that translates to tournament.
It's Yeah, that's the difference between going somewhat even or even in friendlies, and then the difference between playing in bracket. They did that. They did that match online. It was it Summit 10 or was it an SCL? They did like
I think it was an SEL and
It was an
exhibition.
SEL.
Yeah, they did Left and Sheik versus Zayn's Marth, and it was close and also disgusting, if that makes any sense. I think it was like a 3-0 that involved a lot of winnable scenarios that were really easily squandered, and a lot of early kill situations. I mean, if you want my like real, opinion, that's not trying to be a fun like Stephen A. Smith style person. He's gonna lose the first set they play as Sheik. He's gonna lose like 3-1 or something. It's gonna look doable the entire time, and but in terms of like things that would need to change for him to win, I think it's like a small but important list that I think will keep him away from any set win in the near future. 2022, looking like we're going to have our fair share of majors. That's not even knowing what the heck this Nintendo thing is. I will say that given the opportunity to see them play 5-10 sets, I would say that Leffen would probably take at least one. Yeah, I think that he would be doing well enough to not be favored to win, but to have the ability to. But yeah, that being said, Zayn is the clear-cut favorite to win. I'll give him 45%.
Wow.
But I will say Leffen with his 7.5% takes it.
I mean, I will say, Wheat, that the times that you've bet on Leffen before that aren't just explicit fanboyism, I do think that like Leffen has a weird tendency to kind of just like win events right when it feels like very against the odds for him, and then when you think like he's ready to usurp the throne, he gets like fifth at a major, losing Fox Dittos or something. Like I do think that like it's a strange tendency of Leffen through the years to kind of just catch people when they least expect it and just look incredibly dominant, and then like after looking like that for a couple tournaments, he just like goes on a big slump where he's talking about like switching to another game or some shit.
Yeah. HBox used to have the ability to, whenever it looked like he wasn't number one, he would play out of his mind. And Leffen had like the exact opposite, which was he would like string together really great performances to where you're like, I think if Leffen wins this major, he's number one. And then he will just get destroyed.
Yeah,
Shine 2019, a great example. I think I would have been ready to say that he was number one. He went in as a number one seed, and he lost to Moki and IBW. So like,
I was gonna say,
rough.
Wait, I'm sympathetic to the plight of the Swedish Fox, but there's an equal chance that like Leffen just comes in and loses to Cody, or like loses to Wizzy, right? Like, I think we're talking a lot about how he would do against Zayn. It's not a foregone conclusion unless they're very early on in bracket or in the same pool that Leffen even gets there. He's got to have a lot. I think like the gap between him and a lot of those, again, the same players in that tier, the Wizzies, the IBDWs, the H boxes, and like honestly, like now we're dipping. Like I feel like it'd be really close against players like Amsa, against someone like I think again Kadora and I really want to see, and then
I think Magi could catch him off guard.
Maybe I think that's pushing it.
only KJH can continuously smack Magi and Falco Fox. I took a look at her records in that match.
Didn't Leffen like JV5 KJH one time?
Yeah, with the exception of like one laser or something like that.
Yeah,
that was a while ago.
That was a long time ago.
You're gonna bring that up against KJH? Leave KJH alone.
I'm not bringing it up. I only am forced to do so because you said Magi could beat Leffen.
No, I said I would give Magi. It would be like it would need every break to go her way. It would be like It would be like HBox beating Zane level.
Regardless,
no,
I think
Zayn has a much better chance of beating HBox than Magi beating Leffen. Me personally, I think that.
No. Zane is very favored over HBox.
I know I'm agreeing with that, but I think like
Oh,
Magi Leffen has a, how do I put this right? HBox has a better chance against Zayn than Magi has a chance against Leffen. That's how I'm viewing
I
it.
think they're both like.
No, they're both
I'm giving
really,
HBox
really,
a-
really big underdogs. No, they're both really,
Yeah.
really big underdogs. But
no,
I think that
I think I agree
This is
with that.
me
I think
sleeping
that's
on
right.
Clutch God. I don't know why this is my new thing. I've become the Clutch God sleeper.
Yeah,
I'm just
this
leaning into it at this point.
this is good. Yeah, it's just like you're like that guy in every sports movie. He's like, yeah, he'll amount to nothing.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's just me
wrong.
now.
Yeah. No, well,
Really,
hey, we need it.
really, really quickly, I think I just want to ask, you guys cannot pontificate and you can't think about it. Who is the vote-in player doing the best at this summit?
No.
Tyler Swift.
Wow. I'm going with Magi.
Okay.
By the way.
Yeah, very fair.
After just talking about that.
I think the best here in this field could be top 8, but it probably is going to be 9th. But yeah.
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised to see any of them get a top 8. I think the chances are, if we're going to continue throwing out odds, I would probably say there's like a 40-ish% chance that one of them gets in a top 8, just because there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
Means that, only at least one of them is going to get 9th because they have to. And then there's a decent chance that a couple of them do. And then you just got to get one of those sets. But I do think it's a slight odds going the other way that none of them get top 8.
But yeah, I think, if we can kind of wrap up the discussion of someone, I think that we all do view Zayn as the odds-on favorite here. He's the type of person who, anytime you talk about someone's ability to win the tournament, you have to mention Zayn, and the fact that he comes up in every conversation like that kind of shows that he is the pretty foregone conclusion for the one who's heading into this as the favorite. With Leffen, I guess, and a few other players as kind of question marks. But speaking of questions, Fendi, we've got some questions for you each week. We receive questions from our supporters over on Patreon through our Discord, and we got some good questions here this week. We usually like to roast our patrons for bad questions, but we got some good questions. So I'm not sure if we'll have a chance to get to anything in Twitch chat, but if anyone is in Twitch chat, obviously you can leave any question, and we'll see if we have time to get to it. We've got a few from this guy, Chief under the name Chief Zane Officer. I don't know who that is, but it's a question: how are you so handsome and humble at the same time?
Well, it's been a long time coming to be, somebody who is so ugly for so long, and now it really. No, I'm kidding. Just doing what I can, trying to stay, slender as I can, and that's I can't believe you're actually asking me my own question.
You want to reveal who asked this question?
Yeah, I can't believe you asked me my own question.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm clicking this now. It says FendrickLamar. Huh, okay. Different display name. It kind of tricked me up. Well, how about this? SF, Melee Stats employee,
Yeah.
SF, asks, what's your favorite entry of yours relating to you on the Michigan Grind PR?
Oh, that's a really good one.
Are you might be too good of a you might be too much of a good boy to even get on the Grind PR.
I think I have a couple, but my favorite one that doesn't, I was not the grimer, I was the grimy that I like to talk about. So I think it was the Michigan.
Wait, you were the grimy.
You
were the grimy guy.
Right. I will explain how. So I think it was the third Michigan Arcadian, and they're doing draft crews of 8. PR players in pairs of 2 make the picks for the draft crews. And this is like right after I had moved, or I was about to move out of Michigan. So it was like my big, like, kind of goodbye tournament. And they're doing the picks, and the picks are rolling in, and they're at pick, like, at this point, I think I'm like somewhere in like the 7 to 12 range is where I would have put myself. I think I got 9th at that Arcadian or something like that, maybe a little lower. But the picks rolling in, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 23, 24, 25, 28, 29. There's like 30. There's 2 picks left, and I haven't picked yet. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? And they pick someone else. And so there's 1 spot left. And KJH and Russell are the last pick. And they're like, man, I don't know. We don't know who to pick right here. It's really hard. And I'm just like, this is fucking bullshit. And they do pick me. And I'm like, how did I possibly go on the 32nd pick? And then it turns out later on that they had actually picked me like 8th and purposefully delayed announcing that I had been picked until the very end to just piss me off. And I think it's under Kalindi's Grime PR entry, but I was livid. I was so mad at them. I was just like, this is such a shitty way for my friends to do me like this on my last Michigan tournament. But I think I'm gonna like quickly find if there's any that I was the Grimer for. Let me see. I'm pretty sure I have a couple. Yeah. Oh, this is a funny one. So it was one of my first tournaments, really quickly, and then we'll go on to the next question. It was one of my first tournaments. It was like, I think it was might have been after Sweet Prologue in like January 2015. So my first tournament was Super Sweet in 2014. But a bunch of us go to this Ann Arbor restaurant called Pizza House. And there's I think there's probably like 10 to 12 of us eating. It's like Juggle Guy, like a lot of like old school guys like Dre, Duck. If anybody knows like Chad / KD or Richard / Bloody Joker, we're all eating there. And, you know, they bring out the individual checks, and without me knowing, you know, there was a battle between Richard and Chad for all of the checks. And apparently, you know, I learned later on, this is like an Asian culture thing. It's like, if you could pay for, you know, that's what they do. And so I was just totally oblivious to this. And I like go to pay for my check, and I found out that Chad has paid for everybody. And my immediate reaction is, quote, I don't know what just happened, but I'm a big fan. I like it. And everyone else was like, what the fuck, Fendi? And I was like, what is here? There's a couple other good ones. When Duck won Combo Breaker, I switched my more expensive bills with Duck in the post deal so he could pay for mine. But yeah, I got a couple of good ones on there, and yeah, it's a fun time. Love my Michigan.
It's all coming back. I forgot that you are you're a very good grimer when you want to be.
Yeah.
So Fendi, about like, I would say a little under 3 years ago, you and I made history together. Do you know what we made history on?
Oh man. Let's see. 3 years ago would have been January 2018.
Yeah.
Era.
In fact, a little over 3 years ago, I would say.
Was it at a big house? Was it?
No, you and I made the history together on the Melee Stats podcast.
Oh, was that 3 years ago?
Damn. One that I was not on.
Yeah,
that's
right. I asked you.
That was like
question,
August of 18, or it must have been
how
earlier
you would
than
do.
that.
How you would do against Scar in a best of 5. And the reason I bring that up is because we received this question. When will we, also from SF, I think, when will we get the Scar Fendi run back?
So we did get a run back in Slime's commentator tournament. It was closer. I lost 3-1, but I did get the run back, and was actually just embarrassed by commentator Falcons. I have played Armada twice in tournament. I have played Vish once. I felt more helpless against Vish than I did against Armada.
Vish is good.
I just got the brakes just beaten off me that tournament. And then so I went to losers, and I had to play Scar, and you know, I clutched out game 1 at like we were both like over 100% last stock, and then he just beat me the next 3 games. I recently kind of chimed in on Twitter where there's a lot of speculation about what Ludwig is going to do for his $1 million tournament in 2022, and people were talking about where to do it, And someone was like, you should do it in Vegas because, I think it was you, you're like, what's more mogul
Yeah.
mogul moves than Vegas, right? And that's very true. And I chimed in. I was like, what else happened to Vegas was the arguable start of Ludwig's gigantic streaming career. A lot of people talk. It's fun being
very arguable,
very arguable. But I like to think I had a play. But I'll like go into his Discord because I'm a sub, and in the Old Heads channel, like a lot of folks will measure their time as Ludwig fans based on how they relate to Scar versus Fendi, which is crazy to me. And so I think it would be a lot of fun to throw that back on there.
Mm-hmm. Crazy that I started it all.
Yeah,
it would. Well, I mean,
actually insane that I started
in an inadvertent. Actually, not even
you asked a question, but if Fendi didn't make it into a thing,
yeah, an inadvertent, but he definitely set the spark that lit the fire. I took
just insane level of
gas on it. I threw gas on the very small kindling fire.
But I had to recognize also that you would do that as well. I knew the kind of answer you would give.
Yeah, Scar would. Even right now, I think Scar would still beat me.
Well,
I'm not gonna.
We've seen it before. Obviously, the Ludwig the match, the first to 5. Was it first to 5? It
was first to 5.
The first to 5 that was in the Evo suite that Edwin and I were not allowed into for free, despite the fact that we were, some could say, the progenitors of not only the beef but Ludwig's entire career.
Literally,
weren't you just saying that you weren't even on that podcast suite? I could have sworn you.
Yeah, I literally started.
Hey, come on! My whole Melee career is like being chill enough where people let me into things that I probably don't need to be in. I should have been included in that. But hey, we're going to see what I am calling the Mogul Major in 2022, and what I am pushing to be in Vegas. And if that's the case, then maybe 2 tickets for whatever first to 5 is run there for 1. Give me that weight, and 1 Edwin Budding. But yeah, I will say, even though I stayed in Ludwig House, I stayed in the Lud House for main stage. I will say,
I think that's like 4 weeks in a row you've brought it up.
The wounds are they're still fresh. They have not been healed from him letting me in his house, carrying around tons of money. There was like several different times, Fendi, where people would carry around stacks of cash with no care for it, and they'd put it like right near me and then leave the room. It felt like one of those like like a hidden camera show. But yeah, no, that's we will be seeing that. I've got another question for you. I think this is one of the last ones that we're going to be able to ask you. But this is from Poison. This is from a patron, a Portland Trailblazers fan, if I do believe, which might color the question in a different way. But the question is, who should the Sixers trade Ben Simmons for?
I mean, who they should and who they will are 2 different answers. Who they should, I really do think they should keep trying for Dame, but it seems pretty clear that like Dame wants to play with him. So you're in this weird impasse, right? Where it's like, at this point, would you do it for CJ McCollum in a 1st-round pick? Honestly, yeah, because at this point, it seems just very clear to me that Ben Simmons is just not going to play, right? So like getting anything for him is a win, especially if Portland continues to like be a little like middle of the road kind of team. That could be like a late lottery pick, and it would have to be unprotected. Let me make that very clear. I don't want none of this nonsense like top 5 protected picks. Like I would want an unprotected 1st-round pick, maybe even 2 1st-round picks or something like that. But as it stands right now, Portland is 11-14. They're the 10th seed. They're the last team in the play-in
going through
tournament.
some changes, management changes.
Exactly. So, I think that would be a trade worthwhile. I think the emergence of Tyrese Maxey has made it even more clear that they don't need to trade him for like a poo-poo platter of a bunch of shitty expiring contracts. Like they should get a star. And so I think like that is what I would want them to do. I think there's a clear trade partner with Portland. And I saw like the Portland defense is like 30th in the NBA, right? They are very bad.
Hey, you know who got voted 2nd best defender of last year?
Send
little guy named
Simmons.
Benjamin Simmons.
Yeah. So I would like to see them make a deal for Dame first and then CJ second, but they got to do something because they're the Sixers are 13-11. They are not by any means the world beaters that they were last year. They're as of right now they're tied with the Celtics for the last spot in the top 6. I think that'll normalize. They didn't have Joel for a bunch of games.
Yep, lots of injuries, lots of people having to stay out of games because
right. They had like the whole Tobias and there was like one game right where it was they went to Portland and beat them with all the scrubs, and I was like, that's not a sign that you should be giving up for the year and taking our Ben Simmons. Like I don't know what else to tell you, but that's the answer. I haven't really given that much thought to where else might work because I don't think they need Buddy Hield or De'Aaron Fox anymore.
I don't. Yeah, I mean we have Tyrese Maxey who kind of can do what they would be doing, and is doing so without a Buddy Hield contract. Yeah, no, I think hey, that's the dream, right? Damon Philly. We might be getting into this later as we go into a segment that is unnamed, but I believe before we get into that officially unnamed segment, I believe there's one question that we have. Anoke, do you have a last question?
Yeah, this is from Destiny Fan. Fendi, if you had to guess, what is the lowest amount of money Armada comes back to for Ludwig's tournament for the Mogul Major?
The lowest amount?
If Ludwig puts up 50 mil, I think Armada's coming back. But what's the floor for that?
I'm gonna. So, are we talking for first place or total prize pool?
That's a good question.
I'm actually interpreting this as like him just outright paying Armada to go into the league.
Oh, okay. So like an appearance fee kind of thing that Mutual.
Yeah, that's how I interpret it.
Okay. Well, a bracket appearance fee, which is a lot different.
I think that if the lowest, I think if Lud offers Armada, I would say 6 figures. I'd say 100,000. Because maybe at 50,000, Armada thinks about it. But like I was interpreting the question on like what is the total prize pool, and for me that number would have to actually be pretty high. I think if Ludwig had a $500,000 prize pool, that's where I would kind of be like Armada's maybe thinking about it. But honestly, I don't know, man. The dude is like loving Super Mario 64, right? Yeah, like been dating his girlfriend forever, looking like a 35-year-old man with this slick back hair.
Hey, whoa.
Whoa. That makes it sound like he's not having a great time.
No, I'm just saying he's like his youthful days are behind him for Smash, obviously. So I think 100,000 for bracket appearance and a $500,000 prize pot. And I really hope that this clip doesn't make it to him on Twitter or something like that, so I can be like, Yash, what the fuck? But I mean, who knows? I would love to see him back. I would love to see him get back into prime playing, just so for once and for all, he can play Mr. Nagmi and ass kicked, and we can end the discussion there forever.
Dude, what if Armada wins that?
Then I would retire too. I'd be
He's
like,
the
all
GOAT.
right, I'm done. Yeah, I'd be like, I'm done.
Oh my God! Stop! Don't relitigate this week. I will note.
Yeah, let's not get into it.
One really funny thing before we move on. Wheat and I were talking about this a long time ago. About Armada. This is after the Save State versus Armada video came out on the Melee Stats channel, and we just
check it out, by the way, if you haven't looked at the YouTube channel.
And we thought the idea of Armada, so Armada has reacted to one of our videos before. He reacted to our most recent video, the game Nintendo wishes they never made. Or excuse me, it never made. And one of the things, this is like a running gag that I guess this kind of counts as one. We just thought the idea of Armada watching this video about him, like him versus Save State, like watching the video completely deadpan and being like, it was actually crazy when that happened. Like,
he's like,
I had never seen it before.
I remember
but
that.
just with the most,
I remember
just
that.
with the most deadpan voice, like he's not reacting at all to anything else. Like, yeah, Safe State they were pretty good. We had a fun time. It was actually a really fun set. I won this tournament, and this is
Just
the
like
last singles
Yeah.
bracket. I
most of it
entered.
not speaking. Like,
Yeah, just most of it not speaking, just deadpan. And at the end of it, he goes, "So yeah, that was pretty good. If you like melee stats or stories like these,
he,
definitely check out this channel. The link will be in the
yeah, this is
description."
how you can tell that you're making this up because he's plugging for us. We got some
Yeah, this is
plugs
like
to
my
go through for
mentality.
us, but before we get to that, we do have one final segment, colloquially known to all of our fans as Touching Grass, but officially unnamed. This is a segment where we talk about what's been going on in our lives besides Melee. Obviously, you have you got a lot of non-Melee stuff going on, so it shouldn't be too hard for you to figure out something. But I'm going to go first. I'm going to give you some time to figure out stuff. We talked about how Armada loves himself some Mario 64. I ever since like last year, I think it's probably been a year at this point. I think last December I started to really, really watch Mario 64 speedruns, and this has been a really cool time to watch them. We've had a lot of records being broken recently. We had Liam, who got a 137. He broke the record, and then he got another new record. It's a 137. It's the first 137 and 120 star. That's really crazy. Ouija has a 70-star record, and he has the 16-star record, and he's working on the 1-star record. So that's really cool. But what I've been doing more than that is I've been watching a show. I believe that this was one of the first iterations of Touching Grass. I might have talked about the show. If not, I definitely should have. The show is an HBO show, and it's not Succession because I already did Succession a few weeks ago. It's an HBO show called How To with John Wilson, which is one of these shows that it tickles me to no end. It's one of the most delightful shows that I've watched, and I have not been able to really come up with a log line for it or like what it is. It's kind of like really hard to describe. But to the best of my ability, what it is it is a videographer who is making like second person POV video essays about how to do normal things and like how it branches off from there. It's really interesting. There are 30-minute episodes. The most recent episode, which is how to, I think it's not how to drink wine. I think it's like how to appreciate wine. But this like pretty like milk toast idea of just like, I'm in my 30s and now like I everyone brings wine to dinner parties and I don't really drink wine, so I don't know what wine is good. It takes some of the craziest turns that I've seen. It has so many different just like insane like changes of pace and just changes of idea, and it is something that I think legitimately I've linked it to Edwin and Ambi before because I think that it has one of the best meshes. It like meshes voiceovers with images in a way where like he'll say something innocuous and unfunny, he'll show something innocuous and unfunny, and the combination of the two together, these two like disparate elements will work together in such a way where it's the sum of their parts, or better than the sum of their parts. It's really amazing. I think if you're into stuff that kind of seems a little more non-traditional in terms of comedy, I would check it out. I don't think it's similar to Nathan For You, but it is telling that Nathan For You is an executive producer on this.
Yeah.
So if anyone is interested in that and has HBO, I would recommend How To with John Wilson. You can start at any point. I think all the episodes are good. But I think the one that we just saw recently, which was season 2, episode 2, was one of the craziest things I've watched recently. So I would recommend How To with John Wilson. Edwin, what have you been up to recently?
Well, real quick thing on that, just you and dear friend of the show, Melee Sad Post, recommended it to me. So that's something that I want to be a bit more familiar with and like really dive into. Last week I talked about SpongeBob, and the week before that I talked about D&D. So I'm gonna get back into D&D for this week and give an update on what my party is doing. Okay.
Hell yeah.
So I'm running a pretty like standard adventure for them. Right now they're just going through a goblin hideout, and I've done a pretty good job, I think, of setting up the world around them, and like they've built and developed their characters in like really fun ways. We've had like a few fun like like encounters and stuff like that. But I have to say, the funniest thing from the last session that we had was like, so okay, so basically they're inside this like massive goblin hideout in a cove or whatever. They're like making their way through the cove, but there's like a room, right? There's like a room off to the side. It has these two wolves that are tied to like they're tied to like different stalagmites or whatever on an iron chain. But it's like an like you can ignore the room and just keep going like through the cove or whatever. My party was just stuck in that room getting fucked up by these two wolves. So the like visual of the whole sequence of events was just like so funny. So one of my friends, she was playing a gnome who had like animal handling skills, but she kept like failing all her rolls or getting mediocre rolls on it. So the wolves were just getting increasingly nervous, and like the other two people I was like who were playing with us, like well, one of them rolled like a natural one when he was trying to like calm down one of the wolves or whatever, and just got like his face torn off, and like they kept staying in that room instead of moving on to like the rest of the cove because one of my friends that like whose character had high animal handling or whatever was like no like I can do this, like I can salvage this event. So it was just like 1 hour of the most ridiculous like turn-based, it was basically like turn-based combat for an hour, but like one of the party members didn't want to fight the wolves and the other two wolves just kept fucking the other two guys up. Like I mean, like you have to imagine like this ridiculous visual, right? Like these three incredibly grizzled like veterans of like this medieval fantasy world or whatever, and they just can't handle these two dogs. It was one of the most bizarre like the fact that I'm a pet owner honestly makes it even funnier. Like it was getting so bad to the point where like one of them like tried calling one of the wolves like the name of my dog to try to guilt trip me into like getting him to be like nicer or whatever.
Barnold.
Yeah, he kept calling him. He was like, "Oh, you should name the dog Arnold. Then Anoke is not gonna like kill him or have him kill you or something." And it was just like a very funny position to be in as a DM, and that is the highlight of my last week outside of Melee.
Very nice. So we're just doing just this last week.
Well, we are
Or
on
like-
the podcast every week, so that's
Right,
why we talk
okay.
about that. You are not on the podcast every week, so feel free to talk about anything that's been going on recently in your life or something you just want to give a shout out to.
Yeah, I can't remember if the cameras were rolling when we were doing just like talking about. I think where we were just because it was the very beginning of like what's been new with me. I mean, like planning for a wedding is the big one. It's very exciting. You know, as again, Edwin can attest to is as a wife guy as well or a partner guy. You know, it's just really really cool to like be looking forward to something. I think that's the big thing. It's like it's been a really hard, 20, 21 months or whatever. And as we are like starting to maybe make some progress, maybe not, I don't know. But like, our wedding is in August of next year. And man, like if we don't have like some semblance of normal by then, like, it's not just my wedding that's fucked. Like we probably just fucked us all up at that point. So like we're really hoping that everything is going to be normal or close to normal. We're really excited about it. It's something that we're really just looking forward to. And then whenever we like in kind of like a dual track system, whenever we kind of wrap up the wedding, is we're going to start looking to like maybe buy a house and put some roots down here in DC. I think it's again just like another big time life event and another establishing of being an old guy, I guess. I think it's kind of like the three big things that are weird to be like right on the horizon, but they're all also kind of like a couple years apart. Maybe it's like getting married,
Mhm.
buying a house, and then also like having kids. I was just like, holy shit! Like I could be like where Scar was. I don't know how old Donato is at this point. I was just like, man, like I'm already kind of like phasing my way out of this stuff. Like I don't even know how like he does this at all, right? With a child. I was like, it's crazy to me. Because we're at I don't know, like your normie friends, like my friends are like having kids. I'm like, not only am I going to weddings, but like been going to a couple like baby showers and like first birthdays. And I was just like, oh my God. And so those are like the big things that's going on with me. And it's all very big blessings. I think, both my fiance and I have had family members pass away over the last couple of hers was in May of last year. Mine was in October of last year. We both lost our grandfathers, and it was a big kind of like realignment. Healthy and gainfully employed, and just it's a big just wake up call to be like things could be a lot worse. So with that, I'm very happy. I'm thinking about when my next tournament is going to be. I'm hopefully waiting to hear back from a Pangu about Genesis. That's a pipe dream at this point, but I saw that it's weird. So Smash Camp is the weekend of my bachelor party, which is my bachelor party is in Las Vegas, which is the weekend before Double Down. I'm like, yeah. I can't go to either of those. So I was like, well, if it's not Genesis, man, it could be like, I don't even know. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of majors and events in the spring and the summer. But again, I mentioned like from June 11th to Labor Day, we're invited to 9 weddings. So like all those weekends are gone. So like maybe it's Big House. And that's just crazy to me to be like, even as I was kind of already on my way out, I was still going to Genesis. I was going to Evo. I was going to Big House no matter what every year. And then we lost Evo. And I was like, I'm going to Genesis and Big House no matter what every year. And like, I hope I don't lose the last 2 that I love, because I love seeing everybody. And I know I'm getting very like sentimental and this. And but I still love this game, and I always hope that it will have some part of me. Maybe if that's giving my child a GameCube controller and telling them that this is the premier, gaming system. But I always hope to have just at least 1 or 2 weekends a year where I could see everybody and enjoy the game and the spectacle and all this. And I really hope that we don't fuck all this up. I don't know. I'm if either of you are going to Genesis, but like, it's also crazy to me that we're a month away and we're no closer to the end of this pandemic than we were when they canceled Genesis last year. And I know like some of the tournaments went really well. I don't think Main Stage had a single COVID case, which is amazing. But it's just something that I always want to make sure that's my last plug is like, if you are going to these tournaments, like, please, like, be safe. If you haven't gotten vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you're eligible for a booster shot, go get boosted. Just take this seriously for you, for your loved ones, for the other attendees around you.
Make sure to wear your mask, even if you are in grand finals of Melee singles.
All the way over your nose.
No, even if you're a top player, please wear your mask in the venue.
Even if you have been number 1 for 3 years in a row.
Even if you're signed by Team Liquid.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're not calling out anyone in particular. These are just like
general guidelines.
Even if you are one of the best puff players of all time, that doesn't mean that you do not get to wear a mask.
Even if you routinely change words meanings to fit however way you want them. Let's say hypothetical 3-peat winners.
Yeah, like maybe you just won a big, Glint Melee online tournament.
Hypothetically.
Right.
If
just wear your masks.
Yeah.
Get boosted, get vaccinated. And again, I'm fingers crossed at this point I can get something to work out. It's going to be tough at this point, but if I can, I would love to make sure that everybody's doing this safely. And if I can't, then I just really hope that everyone's taking this seriously. But yeah, that's my touch grass. I think I'm pretty lucky that, no offense to anybody watching or even my other co-hosts, I probably touch grass more than pretty much anybody in the Melee community. So I'm very happy about my ability to touch grass.
Very, very true.
Well, for the rest of us that are very bad at touching grass.
I didn't say you were bad. I'm just amazing.
No, I'm saying for the rest of us. Where can we follow you in your grass touching endeavors?
You can. So all of my on Instagram, it's no smash at all. It's my fiance and my dog and my other things. Everything is at FendrickLamar. Back on Twitter, but not as prolifically tweeting about Smash stuff, but still around here and there. and every now and then you'll get a nice little econ policy tweet as well. And then that's it. Just Twitter and Instagram for the most part. I don't stream anymore. If you want to find me on Venmo and drop a tip in like the same way that Sago does every time I show up on stream, it's also at FendrickLamar there. So it's the same thing everywhere.
All right, take it away, Wheat.
Why don't we have a Melee Stats Venmo?
It's great. He'll just, every time I'm on stream, I plug it just as a joke. And then for like 3 years, this guy named Sam Woodka would give me $1 every time I was on the mic. And I was like, I have no idea who this person is. And then one day Sago tweeted to be like, hey man, I've given you like $6 over the course of 2 years and you haven't said a single thing about it. I was like, oh my God, that's you. It works. You get a little tip every now and then.
I got $5 once from someone on Venmo who I had no friends with, and it was just like music notes as the message. Pretty sure it wasn't supposed to be for me, but you take those, of course. And yeah, of course, until we get a Melee Stats Venmo and Cash App and et cetera, until we get those, if you guys want to follow the Melee Stats journey, you can look us up on YouTube as Melee Stats. That's where it's going to be our long form videos. That's going to be kind of the meat of what we put out. If you like stuff like this, like Waiting for Game, if you want to catch episodes after they aired, you can do so on YouTube as well at Melee Stats Archive. If you'd like to catch them live, twitch.tv/Melee Stats. And over on Twitter, twitter.com/Melee Stats Pod. That's where you'll find daily reporting. It'll also find links to articles such as When's Melee and Monday Morning Marth. Of course, articles that you can both find on meleestats.co. And, if you love everything we do and you just want to support us before we get our Venmo and Cash App, patreon.com/Melee Stats. I believe there's someone in this call who is a supporter of us. Is that correct, FendrickLamar?
I love being a patron of Melee Stats. You get early access to everything. You get to weigh in on pre-release cuts. You get to ask questions for podcasts. It's a great place to be. Best $5 a month I ever spent.
Music to my ears.
Well, I appreciate that, Fendy, and you know what? I appreciate you being on. This was a very fun episode.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
And, yeah, it was a great time. Shocked that our Sixers talk was able to be relatively short, probably long for everyone else, but it wasn't.
And I'm shocked our football talk was.
I was gonna say
before the show.
We spared all of the viewers in chat the 15 minutes of football talk before we actually went live.
Yeah, there was a lot of football talk, but I really did enjoy that. I enjoyed having you on, and then this week will be really fun. We're gonna see Summit, and then the week after that, we're gonna see Smash World Tour. So we're getting down to the end of the year, and if you guys want to check out our episode next week, we're going to be recapping Summit and looking forward to Smash World Tour. Probably one of the last big episodes of the year for us. So I really appreciate you being on, Fendy. I appreciate you as well, Edwin, and all the viewers as well. I'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out. See ya.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Take care, guys.